Warning. The following contains bright, flashing lights and /or imagery that may cause discomfort and /or seizures for those with photosensitive epilepsy. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey, brother.
Hey, my man. My man. Good to see you, bro.
We've been hanging out for a bit.
Yes.
A few years.
Absolutely.
Witnessing each other's ascension
Man.
into not I wouldn't call it success.
Right.
Responsibility.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
You are somebody that has been responsible for life-changing training for thousands of people.
Wow.
You have created a space for instructors to get together and have conversations that otherwise wouldn't happen,
Yeah.
where egos get put aside.
100%.
You have figured out a way to gather some people. Like I'm about to join you for an executive protection thing at this year.
Yeah.
And when I saw the roster you put together, this is the fucking Avengers.
Yes. I love it, man.
These are people that when I was coming up on my own, I was learning from by watching them online, by buying some of their books, by scrounging what I could and finding what I could online about them and what they showed, and all of a sudden I'm there with them.
Right.
Wild.
It is wild, man.
But before we get there,
Yes.
the beginning, some of us that go into places that not many wander into or venture into, specifically war and conflict.
Yeah.
Usually have an origin point somewhere in the past, something to prove. You were born in the Bahamas.
Yeah, man.
Wild. Can you tell us a little bit about the place where you're born?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, man. There's so much I could say on what you said. It's been an honor, watching you grow and become and evolve, and to kind of come up in the game together, yeah. So I was born in the Bahamas, which was awesome because,
But like my image of the Bahamas is beaches, the ocean,
oceans, yes, at the surface, right?
heat,
yeah, we get a nice breeze in Nassau where I was born,
hardworking people.
Yeah, hardworking people.
And when I say hard, I mean hard.
Yeah. I mean, they're cutting your grass with machetes. I mean, it's a lot like what we got down the street,
Yeah.
Shanty towns, different color houses, roosters, packs of wild dogs that will rip you off your motorcycle and eat you in the middle of the street. You know what I'm talking about.
The tropical third world at the edges of the luxury that the Bahamas are for some people in the first.
Man. Underneath the surface, the rest of the iceberg.
So both of your parents are from there, or just one of them?
Negative, man. So my mom is from Washington State. So that's why I'm like this hybrid thing, right?
So your mom's from Washington State.
Yeah, Washington State, and then my dad was from the Bahamas, and we grew up back in the village, watching like gangsters fight with machetes and stuff like that.
So tell me about your dad. Bahamas, like what did he do for a living?
My dad still hasn't disclosed to me how he made most of his fortune, but it was back in the day.
Yeah.
There was some,
Hustle. He hustled.
Yeah, some Germans. There's a lot of things moving through the Bahamas, but he also he had a prominent security company, probably the biggest security company. Let me make sure it's not like my car going off, right? Okay, I don't think it is. But anyway, so he had a big security company back then. He had 20 some odd businesses. But if you could imagine like Tony Montana and like Donald Trump having like a jacked Caribbean like stepson, that's my dad. He got shot at point blank range with a shotgun and he survived. He started one of the first tactical teams in the Bahamas, like public-private partnership with private security. He's one of those fathers where I'm like, hey, Dad, I found the cure for AIDS. And he's like, well, you should have found the cure for cancer. Get back out there, you know.
Hard to impress.
Oh, yeah, you're not going to impress him. So, you know, I would go to the Bahamas as a little boy, like, Daddy, Daddy. And he'd be like, you're getting fat. What's this, you know, what's your mom doing to you? Every day I'd have to do like 100 push-ups, 500 sit-ups, run on the treadmill for 30 minutes, swim 100 laps before I could watch TV. And then I got to be reading a book, well, like a certain amount of a book a day. You know, he had like a pillow with BBs. He was also, of course, a martial artist. And I would have to like sit there and like hit this pillow for, you know, 15 minutes if I was going to watch TV.
Were you the, like, how many brothers and sisters do you have?
I had 5 sisters, no brothers, so I had to learn to fight alone.
So you're it.
That's it. It was all
So you're
me.
it. So so this is you're the promised one.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the hope. You know,
Simba.
Yeah, right. The hope of the tribe, man.
So do you think that's why that amount of pressure was behind like your dad?
Definitely my dad being a hard man, a lifelong martial artist, a warrior, you know, and a very successful businessman. You know, he was like in the paper, I remember, for like Bahamas' top most successful businessman. He was there. And, you know, my dad pushed me hard. Like strength and intensity is very organic for us.
Yeah.
And that's our love language, you know. So the more I see in you, the more I push you, the more I kind of honor you by pushing you.
Was it clear when that was happening and when you were going through it? Or did you just see, like,
oh my gosh,
what the fuck did I do?
I was like, this guy doesn't
this?
love me, bro. Like, this guy hates me. Like I would be out, so he'd be at work all day, you know, managing all these businesses. And I'm like out in the water. I'm like 7, 5, 7 probably by this time. I'm on a little dinghy boat that I had to blow up myself with a little battery engine. I'm in the middle of the stinking ocean spearfishing by my dang self. The spear's like 4 times my size. And I remember, dude, like the tide starts coming in, and I had to abandon the boat because it got snagged and it was like losing water. And I like make it in. I like get through the break. The break's like crashing up against where our house is. So like I almost get, you know, wrecked. I get in and I'm like, and I'm like, Dad, you know, I'm telling him about this adventure. I barely survived. And he's like, where's your boat, son? And I'm like, yo, the boat. Like, and he's like, you better get back out there and get that boat. And I'm like,
it's a resource.
You know, I'm like, okay. I'm like, Dad, I'm gonna die. He's like, get that boat. And I'm like, and so there was a lot of moments like that where I was like, he doesn't even care about me.
Unexplained lessons, maybe.
Yeah.
You know,
a whole lot of those, man.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a few of those figures in my life. And the amount of anger that I would get when I would, you know, have one of those lessons there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, probably he wanted you to go get the boat so you realize the importance of a resource like that in a place like the Bahamas.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be the
lesson.
The lesson, but nothing gets said.
Nothing gets said. And also, if you ever smelled fear, you know, like, because I was raised by my mom, I was kind of tender, you know, still at those ages, you know. So like at swim practice, you know, we went to jump off the diving board, and I remember I got up there and I just was like, and I was a tender little boy actually, and I remember being like, yo, no way, like this is scary, and I was like, and I tried to walk off like slowly get to the back of the line and get back down the thing, and yo, my dad was up the thing and up the ladder in 2 seconds, getting his belt on, you know, taking his belt off. Son, you're gonna jump, or I'm gonna beat you right here and then throw you off, you know. And you know, I was the fat boy, I was the American guy, you know, so all the other kids thought I was soft, so I had to fight a lot. Because they were like, fat boy, look at the American, you soft, you know, and I wasn't as witty then, so I just was like,
you had to
earn
prove
my trash.
You had to prove. So you've been basically proving yourself since you were.
This is good. Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
Is that where some of that drive comes from?
Yeah, man. I mean, I was proving myself when I went to the Bahamas because I was the American. So
you're the outsider.
Other, right?
You're the outsider. You're the other. You're the in between because your parents from one side.
Yeah, kind of the day walker. And then when I go to the States, to Washington, same thing. It was like, you know, I was either in Des Moines, Washington, around a bunch of Samoans. And then my dad, there's a difference between African Americans and like immigrant black people. So like my dad's like, son, you ain't got to die to go to hell. You just got to be a black man in America without an education, and you're already in hell. He's like, don't let me hear you speaking all ooh, ooh, ah, ah, like a porch monkey. Pull up your pants, you know. So I would come like dress, the way I thought I should be, as respectable as possible, and then the other black people would like reject me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, with black people that don't accept me, Samoans who are just like, monsters compared to me, and then eventually I went to a private school environment where I was the only black guy. So I was just used to constantly being like, all right, I'm gonna prove who
myself
I am.
constantly.
Yeah. And then I'd go home and there's a bunch of women and I'd have to like survive.
What was your mother like though? Like your mother had to be the antithesis to this, basically, like the other side of it.
Yeah, I mean, mom really didn't like she hated my dad, right? Because my dad's like this strong, overbearing dude, but my mom was like a feminist. So my mom was like the Jordan Peterson talks about this mother, she was just like, you're always talking bad about my dad, but then would take out her frustrations on my father, on me. I spent one Christmas, the whole night, cleaning the garage by myself. I was Cinderella. I used to call myself Cinderella Ninja when I was little.
What was being punished by your mother that you expressed?
Really, so I was a very gentle and respectful kid. I only lost my temper twice.
So losing your temper and being a man is what was wrong with you.
Yeah. Yeah, so I only lost my temper twice, so I was very respectful, and I understood her rules, and I played by her rules. But then what I learned very quickly is that it wasn't about her rules. It was about her doing the cathartic release she would get from controlling me and grounding me. I was grounded all the time. I was getting punished all the time.
What are your sisters doing around you?
Oh, they're just living their best little life. Because they're, my family, that side of my family, they're feminists. So women are awesome, and I'm cleaning and working and getting farmed out to the neighbors, and kind of always grounded, kind of always in trouble. And I just was quiet, and I just took a lot of it.
What was going through your mind back then? Were you planning your escape, or
100%?
When I say planning your escape, I mean, you're a kid. Mm-hmm. You're in between worlds.
Yep.
You have this hard love that is completely autistic on one side from your father.
Yeah.
And your mom is trying to create you in an image that is kind of distorted, maybe for
absolutely. And hyper religious as well. Yeah. Right.
What is the spirituality going on in your life at this point?
Well, so my mom hyper religious. So I would have to go to church 3 times on Sunday. So both morning services, night service, Wednesday night service, choir practice on Thursday, Saturday night youth service. Every day of the week, I had to watch 4 televangelists, right? And then I went to Christian school for a lot of this. So then I'd go to school, and the first class would be Bible, and right? And so, gifts of the Spirit, all the stuff, and then everything.
How did you take that?
For me,
was it a chore, or did you see anything in there?
Yeah. So dating back to probably my first encounter with the supernatural, which was when I was 5. I heard a voice, which I believe was God's voice, that led me to protect my family during an assassination attempt on my father. And if I hadn't listened to this voice,
you're 5.
Yeah, man, I was 5.
Okay, let's talk about that.
I'm gonna dig into that. So
let's talk about. So you're 5 years old. This hard ass dude that's your father.
Yeah.
That somehow made it to life and had you.
Yeah.
A mystery as far as what happened in the past. Probably incurred some enemies.
Yeah, yeah.
They're coming. Your 5-year-old mind hears something. A voice.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, man. So, my dad, right? He's just a hard dude. He'll offend you. He doesn't care. I still might not be able to beat him up. I still might have to shoot him if it got real.
Yeah,
one of those guys.
He
was a pimp in New York for some time. Got pictures. It was crazy. So, but a really loving man. I love my dad. I can kick it with him now. He's awesome. But I'm sitting on the couch. He's just started the first tactical force public-private partnership with local law enforcement. You know how it is in third world with law enforcement. So his force is actually doing some justice, putting people behind bars. The rest of the guys are kind of making their lunchbox money and stuff like that. He's making a name for himself in the island. And then I'm sleeping on the couch, just minding my business, and I'm the only one up with my little remote, messing around, trying to watch some TV. And then I remember starting to get cozy-wozy, and I'm like, yo, I'm just gonna sleep out here on the couch,
Yeah.
And I start to get comfortable, and I hear this I start to like doze off, and then all of a sudden I'm woken up. And I remember learning this story. I want to say it was a story of Eli, where like there's a young boy that hears God's voice and doesn't know what it is, and he comes in and talk to Eli. He's like, "Yo, I'm hearing this voice," and Eli's like, "Go lay down." Then eventually Eli's like, "That's the voice of God. So say, 'Here I am, Lord.'" So when you're 5, everything's real. You know what I mean? Like your GI Joes are real. Like it's nothing.
You haven't been blinded.
Yeah, 100%.
You haven't stared into the sun that long.
Yeah, 100%. So you're like,
you're 5 and you hear this voice. What does this voice tell you?
And the voice is basically just, I'm like, I'm gonna sleep out here, and then all of a sudden I think that thought, and I hear, and I didn't. It wasn't necessarily audible, but it was as powerful as someone talking to me. It was 100% not me, and it was just like, "Go sleep in your father's room," and I was like. And this isn't any like holy story. Like I'm still like little Byron, so I'm like, no. I'm like, nah, I'm comfortable. And I start trying to go to sleep again, and I hear it again, "Go sleep in your father's room." And I'm like, ah. So then I'm like, no. So then all of a sudden, the third time, "Go sleep in your father's room." So I'm like, if you're not gonna let me go to sleep, I'm gonna go sleep in my dad's room. Like fine, like bad attitude, just human as hell, right? So. I go sleep again in my dad's room, and then the voice comes back, and he's like, "Get your sister off the couch. Like, bring your sister in here." And I'm like, "You're supposed to know everything. If you know everything, I can't get my sister. My sister's my big sister. She's like Queen Latifah. She beats me up all the time at this point." So he says, "Go in the living room, and I'll show you what to do." I walk in the living room. Before I can ask again, he's like, "Snatch your blankets, run in the room." I walk out there, boom, snatch your blankets, run in the room really quick, lay down. A few minutes goes by, she comes in, walks in, slaps me around a little bit, lays down, and then I'm instructed to go lock the door. So now I walk up, and I'm like eye level to the door. I lock the door. I sit down. I gotta feel this feeling that's like, you're not gonna hear anything, go to sleep. So I just I'm like, okay, cool. I go to sleep. I wake up, and now I'm like, boom, wide awake again, and I'm like mad. Like I'm like, dude, like. What? Like, what else do you want, Father, basically? And I don't hear anything, and I don't even get a feeling like I'm going to hear anything. And I'm looking around the room, and then all of a sudden, I start to hear this, like, scratchy, like scratchy, tinkery, clickety-clack kind of noise. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, what's happening? And, like, rats would try to come in through the vent. Now, we're in, like, the shanty town, like, I'm witnessing, like I said, gangs fighting, like, with machetes and tools during the day, right? So like I'm looking at the air conditioning unit and trying to see if like a mouse tried to get in, and I'm like stepping over my parents. I'm like on the bed, and it's not that, and I'm looking at all the corners of the room, like what is this noise? And then all of a sudden I look right in front of me, and the doorknob is just shaking and rattling right in front of my face, right? And I'm like boogeyman fear, like just gripped and frozen. And my dad snores like a chainsaw, so like the house is vibrating with him snoring. And these guys are working this door right in front of me, and like I'm just like, I have to do something. And then I look over at my dad. I go over. I'm like, Dad, someone's trying to come in. Someone's trying to come into the room. And he stops snoring, and they stop. And it killed me because I was like, he's never gonna believe me now. Like he's just gonna think I'm scared and beat me or something. And he just looks at me. And he's like, "Go get my shotgun." His shotgun's under the crib. And sure enough, like I go to get his shotgun, come back, he takes it. They kind of start again. He racks around. You hear a group of dudes, it was about 6 dudes, run back out the living room, hit the coffee table, and pop, you hear the screen door shut behind them. We have them on camera. There's 6 dudes running, sneaking into the house, running back out of the house. You know how it is in these parts. Yeah. They come in your house, they'll clean your house out in like 8 minutes, and they're gone. Yeah. My dad was starting to make some money, starting to gain some stuff. Nothing was taken. And so it looked like it was definitely a hit on him. Yeah. And I would have been sitting there sleeping with my sister on the couch. And that was my first kind
of... That voice.
Yeah.
That voice, you're 5.
Yeah.
Jolts you. It has to be like a weird... That's a mystical experience
right.
almost.
Yeah, and
I mean for what it produced, I mean,
right.
it's on you. That's a responsibility almost.
Oh yeah,
for a 5-year-old.
Yeah, man. And after that, like, and that voice kept me alive a few more times during my life in Iraq and things like that.
It would just come. It would just.
It's certain moments, man.
Before we go there, though.
Yeah.
So you're basically an in-between person, and I understand that aspect of it. I grew up rurally and also in the city, and like I didn't know if I was Mexican, growing up with a bunch of American culture around me. So it's I understand that.
You're a day walker as well.
A day walker. The upbringing, like imagine all this is basically a giant pressure cooker for you. I mean, as far as the amount of pressure that is on you to conform to each environment you're moving in between.
Well, I started getting inoculated to it after a while because like I'd go to the Bahamas and they'd be like, you know, oh, you're this, that, and the next thing. And I would just be like, dude, I'm just going to fight you. Like, I'm just going to wreck you. And then I might be fat, but like, you're tiny. Like, you know how the fat kid in little kid grades is a powerful force. And then I'd go to the US where kids were softer, you know? Yeah. And then, you know, I'd go home and I would just hold my peace and hold all my angst and all my anger in while my mom and I watched a lower level of emotional intelligence than I respected. Now, I've learned that emotional intelligence is a huge grading measure for me when it comes to respecting a person, because I was under the tyranny of a lack thereof for a long time. And then I started to really become quite inoculated to it. Black people, you know, I lose my black card weekly on social media. You know what I mean? And you know, and then I had to earn my respect with the Samoans, and that was a whole other thing.
So you're coming up basically and figuring things out. What's your escape plan?
Yeah.
In your mind, like what are the building blocks of that escape? Because obviously all this looks like you're being pressured into an escape.
100%, man. And then, but also to address that earlier question, the hyper spirituality, the hyper religiosity of my mother's home, conflicted with the reality of the relationship I had with kind of my God, this spirit that was always with me, and I would have intuitions.
What was the conflict? This going 3 times on a Sunday to listen to the evangelist on TV.
Yeah.
What was the conflict between what they were saying to you as far as what that relationship should be and what it was?
The conflict was very obviously that for my mom, while she, you know, it was much more of something that was shunting her life. Like God was an excuse to not do things she should do. It was an excuse to make her feel good and just be religious and cry and sing and pray and all this. But nothing was happening. There was no action. It was not actionable. And then what I was experiencing in my life was being guided and being comforted and being provided for. Like, I don't know how I'm going to eat lunch. Like, you know, Father, like no one's like, I don't have a lunch, you know, you feed the sparrows. And then I would literally, you know, like be put in a position where I never wanted for anything. Yeah. And so I had a friend who was always with me, where my parents were not dependable, always gone. And my mom made religion look like the joke that I really think that religion mostly is, a weaponized thing that holds people back in a lot of cases.
Carl Jung talks about some people that go through that spirituality in their lives. He talks about hidden hands. Yeah. Almost like guiding us. Like when we hear a voice or when we have a relationship with the divine. I think on my end, like I was raised Catholic, hardcore Catholic. Yeah. You know, like hardcore. Like
so same thing, like hardcore religious.
Like actually, like, you know, you're gonna get crucified at some point to prove your faith.
We're doing this.
We're doing this.
We're all in.
It ended for me when my brother died, and the priest refused to go talk to my parents because my parents didn't get married in the church.
Yeah.
Being that everybody in that family was baptized, we all went through communion, everything, and that ended it for us. Yeah. But in a big way for me, I thought, well, since organized religion is gone, all religion is gone. Right. So like I had a dark time in my life where like all spirituality basically was canceled for me. Yeah. You were smarter than I was because you had a personal relationship, I guess, in a way. When you talk about when you talk about that faith aspect of it, where's fear in that? Like, are you fearless, or do you have faith in that you're in the right place at the right time when you're going through something? Were you driven? And if so, like, what was your escape plan? You know?
Yeah, man. It was very interesting differentiating between the confines of religious expectation and the reality of the acceptance and love of the relationship. So discipline always fails, and as I was an imperfect human, I would feel the condemnation of all the rules that I would get from school and church, and then I would just realize that like God was still with me, and He would still be leading and guiding me through my actual private life, right? And then I just started to realize like, I really, maybe I'm here for a reason, maybe He's with me, and that was everything. And then that sustained me through the ridiculous things I saw in churches. Not to mention, one of my first clients was a missionary and an evangelist. And so I got to see, 60, 70 countries worth of churches for years. And so this kind of armored me up. But my escape plan, so home was like a prison when I was with my mother.
Servitude is expected.
Yeah, servitude.
You're the only male.
Disciplinarian, switches, spankings with switches. So
you're special, but not in a good way.
Yeah. And then with my father, it was just like, you just felt unimportant. Like, he's like, I love you, but he's at work. I wouldn't see him all summer, when I'd go there to visit him. So I was kind of like on my own to entertain myself and like, just don't die kind of. But then I had to be a man. When I came in contact with him, he would like make me do things like go get the hot dogs down the street. And I'm like, dude, there's 2 dog gangs that are going to try to eat me. And I'm like 8. Like, what are you like? I'm going to die again. Yeah. It's like, go get me a hot dog. And I'm like, this is a death sentence. Like, we drive through there and then they almost ripped the car apart.
Yeah.
So my escape plan, like when I was younger at my mom's house, I was literally just like, I was like a convict. Like, I was just like, whatever you say, but I was dead inside. Right. And then I was always like, well, maybe I'll go play football. Like, the second I can get out of this house, I'm out of this house. And that just culminated into eventually me being like, you know what? I'm going to join the Marine Corps. And it came to a phone call I'll tell you about,
So your escape plan was the military.
Was war. It was during a time of war. I was like, I'm going to go to war.
And you commented that your mom hated your father.
Yeah.
Was this because he was a fighter? Your escape plan is to turn into your dad.
And essentially, in many ways.
Your escape plan is to proceed in such a life path that will bring you closer to becoming your father.
Right. And there was nothing she could do about it. Like nothing either of them could do about it, actually.
She tried to stop you from this. So before we go there, you decide to join the military. When I say the military, I mean you had no idea what the fuck. You just wanted a rifle. What did you want out of the military?
Yeah, so I looked at my dad and I was like, how can I ever? Like, he's a successful businessman. He's survived death 2 times that I know of. There's nothing I could do that I would ever respect. He would respect. And then I was like, well, what's the one thing he hasn't done? I'm like, he hasn't explicitly gone to war.
He hasn't gone to war.
No one can take that. Once I do that, I earn something that no one can take from me.
Where did that come from?
There.
That's such a powerful conclusion to get to.
Yeah.
Where did it come from? Like you said, like, hey, my dad is like, he's done all this, but he's never gone to fucking war.
Yeah.
And
then the other piece was just, like my masculinity. Like, how can I earn something for myself that no one can take away from me? Like when, my girlfriend, wife, whoever's like, you're not a real man. Like, how can I be like, oh, you weren't there when I got that, So that was the other thing. Like, I don't want to wonder. I saw men that were hollow, and I remember being like
unproven men.
Unproven men.
And there are many in this society, and they have big opinions usually.
Yeah. God bless them.
God bless them, and I would gladly die for their ability to have that opinion and the freedom to do so.
Right.
Any day.
That's what we represent.
But it's a privilege that it's a privilege.
It is.
It is. You talk about needing to have something for yourself that nobody can take away from you.
Right.
That experience.
Yes.
Yeah. When I was coming up myself, I remember this. seeing things in popular culture. Like when we were going through training, they would put Black Hawk Down on. They would put Full Metal Jacket on. All these movies that were specifically made to just
glorify
it, right? I had no clue specifically what I was getting into.
Yeah.
My war's different. Your war, this is, I imagine we're talking about the early 2000s.
Yeah.
9/11 happened at some point. Mm-hmm. And that, like, I think from doing my math, you probably got your start in your military career somewhere in 2004, just as I was going through my donkey show experience.
Yeah. 04 to 08.
Does 9/11 play any sort of effect in your in your escape plan?
Yeah, well, not in my escape plan. 9/11 was one of those moments where I was like, wow, I think we're at war. And then we were at war, and then I saw what the Marines did, and I was like, I respect that. And then I was like, if the realization that, like, if you raise your hand and go into the military now, you are going to war. And so it made it even more desirable.
Yeah, we were seeing the news.
Yeah, I was like, if I raise my hand now, like, I'm a man's man. Like, everyone's hiding, they're afraid. I'm going to go to the meat grinder.
But your mom and your sisters are also watching the news, and they don't want to. I imagine that's like a no-go.
Yeah, and I learned what it was like to put someone through that. One of my friends, got blown up and almost killed when I was back stateside. I can't. Like, it's crazy to think about. Like, now that we're adults, all the different things. But I had no idea what I was going to put them through. But yeah, when I finally told them, my mom was like, and I did it for my masculinity. I'm an able-bodied man. I'm going to get things from this education.
And you decided to join what branch?
So I walk into the cafeteria in my lunchroom, and of course the recruiters are out there,
So the cafeteria in school, recruiters are out there. Which branches are represented in this cafeteria?
So for me, it's Army or Marine Corps because I'm trying to fight somebody, right? So, like, I'm looking to fight, right? So, I'm not trying to do anything.
So you walk towards the Marines?
No, I walk to the Army guys.
So you walk to the Army guy recruiter?
Because, as a civilian, you don't really know what a Marine is. So I walk over to the Army guy and I walk up to him and I'm like, hey, man, I was like, I want to join, but this is what I'm looking for. And I'm like, I want it to be hard. I want it to be hard as heck every single day. I want it to suck. But I want people to look at me, and this is pretty much verbatim what I said. I was like, but I want people to look at me and know that I'm legit, and I joined the hardest branch possible.
Masochist.
Yeah. right?
And what does he point?
And he literally, bro, he looked at me. He looked me up and down. He kind of looked to the side, and he goes, you should probably just join the Marine Corps. And I walked right over to my recruiter, who I would later see after coming back from combat, who would walk up to me as a made man, like I'm getting out of the Marine Corps, and he's like, hey, I'm going to war. What's it like? And I'm like, and reality started bending. I'm like, you sent me and you what the hell? Okay. Anyway, so I walk up and I'm like, let's do this, sign the paperwork. Then, of course, my mom's like, no, you're not. And so she wouldn't give me any of my documentation. So then I had to go. I walked over.
What documentation? Oh.
Like passports, birth certificates, all that. I had to go and
So you had to
get it myself. So then I went.
How old were you when you were going through this process?
I'm pretty sure I turned 18 in boot camp, bro.
You're just fucking idiot kid.
I know, right?
I'm sorry, but that's exactly what you.
Dude,
that's exactly
I went
what
back to base like a few years ago, and I was looking at these kids, and I'm like, dude, did they take advantage of us? Like, what the? I'm learning CQB by Orange County, LASEB, like SWAT later on. I'm clearing the house. I've been on 2 combat deployments. I think I know what I'm doing. My buddy who's training me looks at me. He's like, "What are you doing? Like, where are you going?" I'm like, I'm clearing the house. He's like, "Why are you moving so fast?" I'm like, "Cause I gotta find the enemy." He's like, "How much time do you have to clear this house?" I'm like, "I don't know. That's why I'm moving fast." He's like, "The rest of your life." Yeah. He's like, "Slow down." And in my head, I'm like, "Dude, we cleared 30 cities and villages this way. They just fed us to the dogs, right?" So, anyways. So I tell my mom, she's like, "No, you're not. I'm not helping you." Like, no. And I'm like, I'm going to get all my paperwork by myself. So I go and I do that. I graduate. I tell my dad.
Your dad's not proud of you that you're going through this military? Like, oh, he's becoming a man. Just like that's not his reaction.
No, I mean my dad's like ultra. Like my dad's got citizenship in multiple states. Like he's ultra like hip. He's like my son's not going to die in some white guy's money war. Like you kidding me? Like he's like, and he's right. But like in a lot of ways, like I hate war. Like
we'll talk about we'll talk about the after. But
and so he real quick. So then I tell him this. And him and my mom, he comes to visit me for my graduation. Him and my mom are like, that's great, honey. You're going to go with your dad and learn business in the Bahamas, which would have probably been the smartest thing in a lot of ways, but I wouldn't have developed how I am. And
it wouldn't be a true to yourself.
Exactly. So I had to get my own stuff, man. So I start to walk out of the room. Now my dad's my dad. And I remember looking at the door being like, I could maybe beat him to the door. But he's coming, and I need to just let this happen. And so I start to walk for the door, and like this tidal wave of Byron Sr., and I just like blink, and I'm hanging off the balcony in this hotel room now, like boom through the freaking this glass, not through the glass, but boom, I'm out through the door on the balcony, hanging off the balcony. My dad's holding me like this. And, he's looking at me, and I'm like...
He's utilizing the only thing he knows how to use, which is... Force and fear.
Yeah.
To love you.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want you to go die in this fucking war.
Yeah, man. And this comes full circle, actually, later on, which I'm sure we'll get to. But
you're dangling from this fucking
and I'm just sitting there.
And you're like, I'm going to war, Dad. Yeah, no, you're not.
He's like, and I just relax. And he's like, why aren't you afraid? And I'm looking back up at him, and I'm like... Because either you're going to drop me off the balcony or I'm going to the Marine Corps.
And both of these are going to hurt.
Yeah, exactly. And he lets me back up, and then he lets me walk out of the room. And then that next morning, he's like, okay. He's like, you're a grown man. You can do what you want to do. I'll support you. He's like, but don't die. And then, of course, when I get hit by 62 pounds of explosives and have an out-of-body experience, this whole conversation comes back to me.
He tells you not to die as the final instruction as a father.
Yeah.
Saying goodbye to his son as he goes off to fight this war. Not like any other war before or since. Like it's its own thing. Each conflict is what it is, right?
Universe. Yeah. And all I could say is, hey, I'll do my best. Pray for me,
You go.
Yeah.
You go. This is 2004 era.
Yeah.
Fallujah's behind us.
Fallujah took place as I was in boot camp.
See, so as you were going through training.
I just missed it.
This is, and I have some pretty close friends that went through it.
Yeah.
That is so. When that happened, were you hearing, like, as you were going through training, were you hearing some of these stories coming out of Fallujah?
Yeah, man. So we're going through training, and they're just like, I mean, our big brothers, like, they're kind of deified. Like, these are made men going through the biggest urban engagement since Way City in Vietnam. School circle. They're, all us little Marines are listening. Drill instructors are reading newspaper articles, and they're like, you guys missed it, and we're like, like we're like these little demons that want to get loose, want to get to war.
Was it legit? Like, were you itching for that fight?
Oh my gosh, you're so.
Or was there was there hesitation, fear, or
nothing. You're so well programmed when you get through boot camp. You're so well programmed.
It's a perfect time. It's a perfect time for the brain.
They're so good, dude.
It's a perfect thing. I understand it now.
I understand it too. They're so good, bro.
It's a beautiful thing.
You are like a torpedo of a human.
You are. You're being turned. You're being turned into this
killing machine.
This killing machine, perishable.
Mm-hmm.
You're hearing these stories of Fallujah. You are like, what does it do for you? As far as like, are you even more? Adamant about going out there?
Heck yeah, that's like your purpose. You were created for war, and you were reborn into this elite culture of war. I came into boot camp at 200, and I cut from 225 playing 6A football as a team captain, going Ironman football all 4 ways. going to state, all that stuff. They were like, "You're obese." That's a whole nother bunch of stories. Yeah, give me my obese Marines up here. Anyways, I cut to 211, and then I got in before we started Black Friday. I cut down to 204. Got told I was obese again, and then ended up at. And I was like, we have the top weightlifting program in the state of Washington. We're a number 2, so like I look almost just like this. And then I get out of boot camp at 175 pounds. I can run, jump, fight, not sleep, not eat. Like I'm like just an underwear model that can kill people, basically.
Murderous jerky.
Yeah,
murderous jerky.
Yeah, and everything's kill. It's like, hey, would you like some juice? And you're like, kill. And like, hey, you want to take a left at Front Street? We're like, kill. Like that's just our whole culture. And then, there was zero fear, and it just charged us up every time we heard about the honor. Well, we saw the honor that was being bestowed upon those who were out there fighting. And the fear and all that stuff didn't kick in until, I had my come to Jesus moment and saw my first explosion.
There's no women. There's no women in your life. There's nothing. There's just like that.
I think I always have a girl on the back burner somewhere.
But like as far as going, like you're going, is there nothing holding you there?
Nothing at home that represents the glory of battle, right?
You just see
real life battle, you know.
I mentioned this because like for a while, like I became a monk in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like for a few years.
Oh, I absolutely
because I was like,
went monk mode.
This is
it.
I have to figure this out. And people around you are like, hey, yeah. I'm like, no, like this is it.
Mm-hmm.
You go through the training. You come out of there a murderous Slim Jim of a person.
Right.
You deploy.
Yeah.
You call your dad before you go. You call your mother before you go.
Yeah.
Are there any last warnings?
Yeah, just my dad was, when I graduated boot camp was one of the only times I saw him actually proud of me. That was meaningful.
When you say you saw him proud of you, what did he do or how did he express that to you that sticks out in your mind?
Yeah, it was just like the first time that he saw me come across that parade deck and I was in uniform and I was dressed, snap, pop, crisp, flat stomach. Like he just was like, you could tell he was like, my son's done something I haven't. I respect this,
Yeah.
And the way he dealt with me after that day, and you're still like so harsh programming. Like when I see pictures of me on that day, I think I'm like chilling, but like I'm still like, and it was amazing to finally see that in my father, and it really gave me even more fuel to be a professional warrior. And he tells me he's proud of me now, but I never saw that look in his eyes. You know what I mean? And that was a big moment for a man, I think, for me.
You are in a combat zone.
Yeah.
When you get there, is it what you envision? Like for me, I remember that the first day for me.
Yep.
And how it's like Mythbusters.
Oh God.
Right?
Dude.
Does that make sense?
Perfectly. Yeah. 100%.
The first day you're like, holy shit, here we go.
Yeah.
And you step out of it, it's like, that's not what I expected. This sucks. This is better.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Oh, I'm in constant danger.
Yes.
There's no cover here. You just have to.
I can die right now.
Yeah.
And, someone could be looking at me. But yeah, no, my first night in combat was like a life-changing experience. We are on the Haditha Dam. We're painting skeletons on our faces. We're getting ready to go into battle. It's like 3 a.m. We load up. We're rolling across the desert. We meet up with our Iraqi army counterparts. I'm kind of freaked out because like these people are weird and different.
Yeah.
And they're like, Mr. Ana Habibi, and they're like, hey, like talking to me in Arabic, when Tuscan, like, where are you from? Like, Enta Madame, like, you got a female, like, what's up? Show me some pictures, Sora. Like, I'm like, like, so we're integrating, and I'm like, this is weird, And then, but I'm like, they're kind of cool, all right. And then I look off in the distance, and all of a sudden, we're driving towards the city. We're driving towards Haditha, and then all of a sudden, and this is the Battle of Haditha. There's like movies about it and stuff. Yeah. And all of a sudden, boom, the power goes off. Now, I never seen a whole city just disappear in the middle.
The city just went dark.
Yeah.
As you're driving towards it?
Yes. It's like, and you're in the desert. So it's like.
No moon. It's a moonless night?
No, there's a moon, but it's pitch black, and we're still so far away.
So it's just a black city in front of you. Just.
Well, you can't even see it. There's no street lights. There's nothing. You're like,
and
that was the only massive light.
And that's where you're going.
Yeah, man. And we're heading there. And when that happened, I was like still such a boot that I was like, dude, the power just went off to the city. I was like, wow, that's fortunate. And then my senior Marine looks over at me and like smacks me and is like, recon just cut the power. We're about to invade the city. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, wow. And then we're rolling, and we start to slow down. An army unit goes flying past us, and Bradley goes flying past us. They wanted to be the first ones to get into the city limits for a bragging right. I don't know, whatever. But they went into a minefield. So they go flying past us into a minefield. Kaboom, my first explosion. I see this mushroom cloud. I'm thinking like, wow, I thought that was only nukes that made mushrooms. I had no concept of reality. And I remember saying to myself, this doesn't even look real, as I listened to rounds cracking off, officers trying to call in their units, yelling at them to stop. You're hearing kind of guys screaming and stuff like that.
Full stop.
Yeah. So
Boom.
yeah.
The reality, like death, like for me, those first deaths, specifically around me, like those friends, those smiling faces in the morning that
the humans
that disappear. What was that like? I mean, growing up, you don't really get prepared for a death like that of somebody, like somebody around you.
Yeah, that's in your presence.
What was that like? What was that first experience like?
So, you know, it's just quiet, man, you know, and it's just like, you feel like you're missing a part of yourself. Like, it's like, and especially in the Marine Corps, we're like an organism. Like, we're like Attack the Chow Hall. We're just like moving in ranks, and like everything's just like, we're working out together in stat 1, 2, 3, 1. Like, and so it's just like a part of you is just gone, extinguished, and you got to go through his stuff. And like,
a friend of mine described it as losing a finger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when you're in a group like that, it's like a hand.
Yeah.
When you lose a finger, and the rest of them have to basically.
And you have to kind of you have to compensate for that as a unit, you know, and like, you know,
there's no time to process though. You're out there.
That's huge, because you're not sleeping.
There's no counselor there to talk to the.
Yeah, op tempo doesn't care, bro. Like, op tempo just doesn't care. You still have, you know, 3 patrols and a mission at nighttime every night. You're sleeping 2 to 3 hours. So I see that first explosion, and I'm just like, this doesn't look real. And that voice in my head comes back again, is like, you don't know what real is yet, son. and that's when I was like my hair stood up, and I realized it wasn't a video game. And then we shot the Ep18 into the city, 100 grenades on a string with a rocket. Boom, we blow a big crater, a big path, tanks. We click on the metal hairbands, rock music, speakers, all that stuff. There, AC/DC's kicking off. Tanks do thunder runs in, and we run in behind them into the city, and thus starts the first day of combat, where I almost killed myself on accident, like 10 minutes later.
When you talk about the music playing and stuff like that, but I've been in places like that myself.
Yeah.
This frenzy.
Yeah, that's
this I don't know.
It's like an energetic. It's a like, weird place, man.
For me, being far from it now, and also having commanded people that went into stuff like that, and having to basically create that to rile people up.
Yep.
This music, this push forward, this we're monsters. This whole aspect of
skeletons painted on your face.
We use death whistles.
Yeah.
We would scream with death whistles at the fuckers before we hit them, right?
Yeah.
The programming, because it's programming though.
Yeah. Well, and you're doing it in training too. Yeah. You know, like
and you're being pushed forward. I've never said that I was. I never said that I was like fearless at all. Like legit fear was always there.
Yeah.
Like a giant fear. But I move forward anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like when you hear that scream that everybody's doing before they go into shit like that.
Yeah.
It's about them pushing through it.
Right.
It's fear, but we'll do it anyway.
100%. And one of the interesting things too, like there was rock music playing. Psyops was also kicking off. So babies crying, women screaming, piano, sniper shots at random. Like, so you got metal bands, sniper, psyops on speakers, like concert speakers on the side of Humvees coming in behind you. And then you got the other side. They're kicking off their psyops. So the mosque kicks off like, kill the infidel, these ninjas are coming here. So I remember, dude, and I just remember my hair standing up. And like, it is probably one of the most exhilarating things, you know, like I'm afraid, but I'm also like, it's just so much reality. And you're like, I could die right now. There could be someone sighting in on me right now. And one of my senior Marines, Praxidus, I'll always love him. And he comes up to me, he's like, "You good, Rodgers?" And I'm like, "I'm good." And I'm on a rooftop, like setting security. We're listening to firefights happen in the distance, dogs barking, along with all the other noise. And he's just like, "It's a freaking Twilight Zone, isn't it?" Yeah. And I'm like, and all I could say is, "Yes, it is, Corporal."
It's the most powerful hallucinogenic on the planet.
That's what I'm getting at, and I didn't know how to say it in a way that would be palatable. And my PTSD was related to being addicted to my own dopamine like that, because you spend so much time with that level of awareness and intensity, and reality is so vibrant. You know, it's so vibrant, and then you come to like.
Blood is pumping. Oxygen is there.
Yeah.
Your tools are ready.
Yeah.
It is everything that all of your ancestors basically survived.
Yeah.
Around.
You're on the razor's edge.
You're the tip of that spear, basically.
Yeah.
And it is fucking addictive.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, man. Get combat-tutionalized real quick.
If you've never been in that fray. I like the word fray.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen street dogs fighting amongst each other and just that fray?
Yeah, it's chaos.
Teeth and hair.
Yeah.
Now imagine technology being added to it. Night vision, guns, explosive things flying around you.
Yeah.
An enemy that is willing to fight for his home.
Yeah.
Which is what you were fighting against. These people were fighting for their home.
100%.
So I can't imagine the dump it would have on a human. And this is not like an isolated event. This is not. Hey, I had a car crash.
No.
And I got some PTSD from it.
Way of life.
This is like a giant expanse of time.
Oh, 100%. You know, and we wouldn't go back to the rear for 2 to 3 weeks. We'd be out there living in it. You know, one man up, one man out, 2 on, 2 off overnight. You know, like your buddy wants to sleep, you're sitting here. You know, and then all right, it's your turn. You get 2 hours, and he's like, you know, and we were in it for those long periods of time.
When we like
you change.
Yeah, back then I was watching the news, and all we would hear about is IEDs, explosives, explosions. It seemed like there was this giant rush and move invasion forward, and all of a sudden there was a hold. And when you start holding,
you start getting maneuvered on. Yeah.
You encountered one of them like while you were out there.
Yeah, man, I was in a handful of them. The most notable one was when I got hit directly with 62 pounds of explosives.
You got this. We've seen these movie depictions of like the slow motion camera, people flying around. Hurt Locker.
Yeah,
we've all seen these things that this is how it is. Are any of these faithful to the actual experience of going through an explosion?
Man, you know, maybe if you're watching it happen, like on one of them,
if you're like far from it, but not inside.
Yeah, but not inside it. No, you like one of them I was staring at when it blew up.
Yeah. And
the last thing I remember was staring at it.
And then
the one that really rocked me, I had zero idea or concept that I had even been blown up. It's like you just either wake up or you don't.
It erased your tape backwards a little bit.
I remember everything leading up to it, and then all of a sudden I was in an alternate reality, and I had to then be like, why am I here?
So you got hit. Were you in a vehicle?
Yeah, fortunately I was in a 7-ton, but it was 60-some pounds detonated directly underneath my butt.
You flew.
You
were flying.
Encapsulated in there. So the last thing my buddy, who was sitting right where you're sitting, in the safest place, I was in charge. I was a troop commander in the back, so I was in charge of the squad back there. Me and him are sitting right here kind of talking, and you know, my senior who'd been blown, now get this, he'd been blown up almost 10 times. I've caught 5 IEDs. Yeah. This is like not like civilians hear this and like, well, you've been blown up 5 times, you know. But like in my platoon, like It's like mediocre. Yeah, I'm saying,
Yeah.
you know. So he comes over the radio, and Foster's just like, Silverback, I got a weird feeling, dude. We got to stop. And he can instinctively. I watched him get launched for 7 minutes. 7 seconds. He was in the air when he got hit last time.
Pattern recognition is directly related to trauma.
Interesting.
So like in war fighters, that's why people become these fucking supernatural.
Yeah.
Like there's something
So sensitive.
Pattern recognition is directly related to trauma of all kinds, not just warfare. So that's an
It becomes a survival thing.
It becomes a survival thing, but also when you are not in a war setting, it becomes pain for people that come back and try to readjust to this. You know, imagine your friend who was IED whisperer that could detect these somewhere. Now imagine him coming back and having to work in an insurance company.
We get into that, man. Yeah.
But so you've encapsulated you, and you said you've been through these before. Were you hospitalized because of these before?
By the grace of God, no, man.
But this one.
This one, the one that really rocked me, I ended up with a level whatever concussion because I was out.
You woke up in the hospital.
No, I woke up. I woke up within 7 seconds, but I lived whole life in that 7 seconds, apologizing to family members, seeing everyone, talking to my grandma.
So you were in this vehicle.
Yeah. So
What are the injuries? I mean, imagine for people that don't know, the pressure expansion.
Yeah.
Is
on your brain, your skull.
It'll go through things. It doesn't matter how much armor is around you. It doesn't matter if you have a fucking helmet. That's some people think actually the helmet will make it worse. Right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But you're basically
I think
you probably stopped functioning for a bit.
When I came to consciousness, I'm singing a song, talking to my buddy like this. The last thing he saw was me folded in half on the roof like this, with my feet up by my ears, folded in half, and then I apparently fall into like the cradle left from the crater from the explosion. For me, I'm rolling down the street, and all of a sudden, I'm in a black room like this.
You're in the dark.
And I'm perfectly fine. Like I'm at peace. Like I'm just kind of like hanging out, like that John Travolta meme from Pulp Fiction where he's kind of dancing. I'm just chill.
So near death, can we call this a near death experience?
Oh, for sure, 100%.
My
consciousness is still working, but I'm in another kind of experience.
You're just in the black, but you're also cool. Well,
yeah, it was very interesting.
You're just calm.
Yeah, it gave me a lot of peace about dying.
But sorry, I've had experiences like that in my own life a few times. But and I like kind of like delving into these, specifically how
at peace,
how people share the same experience of going through something like that. Mm-hmm. Do you go anywhere, or are you just in this dark room?
I'm so at peace all of a sudden because war is like so many levels of misery, right? Like that I was kind of like,
you're
where am I?
Yeah,
like,
your feet hurt, you're stinky, your ass you should wipe your ass better, but probably you smell the weight on you.
Weeks, yeah.
The weight on you,
the heat, the
weird fucking sores you get on your hips because of the weight bearing shit you're wearing.
Yeah.
But you're none of that. All that shit falls away.
Yeah, and I remember kind of being like, man, I'm like good. And then I was like, how did I get here? And I instinctively just knew I could pull up my thoughts. Like I could read them. I was like, I said to myself, what was the last thing I was thinking? And then all of a sudden I saw this MS-DOS, like you remember the green cursor? Like it's the Matrix movie. Like literally it was like, why is the water cooler trying to come up my ass, basically? Like that was my last thought. And I'm like, water cooler? And I'm like, oh, I was sitting on a water cooler, like a Gatorade, because I was sitting on this Gatorade cooler just in case I got blown up in the back of a 7-ton, which is like a big up-armored semi-truck. And then I was like, oh, I was on patrol in Iraq. And then I was like, oh.
I didn't even know you were in Iraq.
Dude, I told you, I was like erased, bro. Like my soul was like traveling somewhere. And then I was like, oh. And then I was like, I was on patrol in Iraq. And I was like, oh my gosh. And at that moment, sorrow, bro. The deepest deepest sorrow I'd ever experienced explodes from the center of my being as I realize I'm a pile of guts on the floor in Iraq.
The sorrow comes from you getting to realization you just exploded.
Yeah.
You're not too certain where your body is or how it is.
Yeah, as that sorrow started to like it was just like an explosion. It was like someone hit me in the solar plexus. I've never experienced sorrow this deep, and it haunts me to this day. It's part of what drives me. I don't want to experience this feeling again.
So can you, when you say sorrow, like,
it was realization of the finality of the totality of my life to that point.
Did you feel wasted? Did you feel it was wasted?
That's what killed me.
Is that it? Is that it?
Bing, like bullseye. Like I literally was like, I didn't even live. Like I wasn't even freaking conscious. Yeah. Like I was eating filet mignon, like not realizing like that's this life experience is such a miracle. I was like, at no point, I was just like kind of funny, kind of jacked, and like wasn't deliberate and like opened my eyes and just took for granted all the freaking miracle of life. And I realized that in a second. I was like, the magic's over.
And that's the sorrow that you missed it, or that you didn't appreciate it, or I didn't do anything.
I didn't really step into it. Like I didn't lean into that trash. I was not aware, and that killed me. And this is when I started to like see family members, because it was like I was saying my goodbyes. And all of a sudden, I'm like seeing my mom, and I'm like, Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I failed. I died.
When you say you're seeing them, are you seeing images of them, or are you seeing them like they're in their daily lives going about their shit?
Exactly. It's like I'm being transported to say goodbye to them while I'm on my way to wherever the heck I was going.
And they can't hear you.
And there's just like, dude, one of my my girlfriend at the time was washing the dishes, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
She can't hear you.
I'm visiting family members.
That's an interesting aspect of it. Like if people are skeptical about it,
yeah.
If you hallucinate something because you feel afraid of dying, I could imagine that you can interact with the visions of your family, right? Yeah. That would be actually comforting.
Yeah, because it's your game, it's your thing.
But
right?
it's not. But no, they can't hear you.
Yeah.
That's
it's like that movie Ghost, bro.
It's interesting to think about it because of how it shouldn't be that way if it's a hallucination.
If it's me running the show, right? I should get something.
If this is my brain trying to calm me the fuck down before I perish,
go to the next whatever.
Why is it being a dick to me?
It's not calming me down.
And I can't interact with these people. It's interesting.
And so I'm seeing everyone, and then I get to my grandma. And I'm just like, I'm so sorry, because my grandma kind of raised me the last part of my life. I got in trouble, and my mom sent me to my grandma's. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, Grandma. And my grandma used to always tell me, and it's really touched by an angel, but this is what happened to your boy, man. Like, she's like, Byron, if anything's ever stronger than you, because I got stung by 300 some odd bees when I was 5. I almost died, and then I had night terrors and like all this other crazy stuff. So she would just be like, just start saying Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. By the 3rd time, it'll go away. Bro, this is what happened. So then now I'm sitting here, and I'm just like, I don't know what else to do. So I'm praying, and I'm just like, Jesus, 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 Jesus. And I remember saying from the bottom of my heart, bro, from the bottom of my soul, I looked up and I was like, Father, I may never be what you called me to be. I may never be good enough. But I swear, if you give me another chance, and I said this exactly, I will go so ham. I will go so hard in the paint in my teenage dialect. I was like, I will go at this life with everything I have.
I'll learn it.
Dude, and then all of a sudden, I was back in my body, but I couldn't move. And now I'm sitting here, and I have body consciousness again. And I remember at some point in all of this, I looked at my buddy, Wellerman, I looked at him, and I was next to him, and he was looking at my body, and I couldn't look down at my body. And then all of a sudden, I was back in my body, and then I saw my father, and I was talking to him after he got shot at point blank range with a shotgun, and he survived. And I was like, how'd you not die, Dad? And he was like, I never gave up. He's like, people die when they give up. I was gonna fight like hell. I got my girls to live for, you to live for. I wasn't done, and he was declared dead like multiple times through the whole thing. So
Stubborn.
Yeah, right. Just his ego wouldn't let him freaking go. So I remember then, I felt I kept praying, and my buddies still make fun of me because they heard me sound like you sound like a little, But I got my power back, and I felt like this, like this power up. Like if you hear like an Abrams tank, like I felt myself power back up my body, because I was like, Father, I can't do this without my body. And then, dude, I remember my dad. I saw that vision of my dad, and then it turned into, I'm not gonna die here. And then this rage took over, like some righteous anger, like I am not gonna die here. I got up, I looked at the back door, it was jarred shut from the explosion. I crawled out of the little hole that I was in, and I started kicking it, smoke's filling the vehicle, and I was so happy we weren't like taking fire or anything.
Yeah. You're just on fire.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I kicked the freaking ladder down, and then I run, and I look down, and I black out again. And, you know, it's like a 6 foot jump to down there, and I'm fully kitted out. So I look down, get ready to jump, and I black out again. And then I wake up in the middle of a feet, like 30, 40 yards away, on a knee, setting security for myself, looking around. My guys are still back there in the vehicle, and that's when I yell at them. And then they get up, they get out, and we move into this little shop next door, and we find the only 6 military-age men in the city area in jeans and sneakers. So, you know, yeah, so we hit a choice point, man. Like, long story short, I walk up, and I'm like, obviously these are the guys. Like, my guys canvass the area. We run, you know, we hold these guys, we detain them, and we're now at a choice point. We're like, these dudes blew us up. They just blew us up. I haven't gotten medical. None of us have gotten medical attention. I don't know if my dudes are bleeding out or anything.
Wrong like a motherfucker. Cut, bleeding, internal injuries being what they are, and
dudes
now
are bawling because like you get so emotional when you get blown up. Like I'm looking at my guys, like they're just like bawling and bleeding and spitting out blood, and I don't know if
and
their
like, hands are still on their fucking guns.
Yeah. Oh,
which is
Marine Corps programming nuts, right?
Supernatural shit.
Right. And I'm just sitting here, and I remember these dudes. I was like, who here speaks English? And their alpha looks at me, and he's like, I don't speak English. And he like grins at me, bro. And he says it in perfect English.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, get these dudes on their knees. And my boys, they put them on their knees and like kind of, you know, like we're all doing the math. And my guys are like, we got rifles in the truck, bro. And I'm just like, and now we're hitting a choice point, you know. And
it's a blackness.
Oh yeah.
It's a blackness. It's like this dark retribution that kind of comes from survivability, which is probably the same every time in history with warfare.
100%. It's there. Like that moment in Platoon where it's like retribution time. Like you go into that village and you're like, I know what you guys did.
You're there. Mm-hmm. You're there.
And
you're doing the math.
Dude.
Doing the math.
And my boys look at me and he's like, we got drop weapons in the trunk. And I'm like, yeah, we just did a raid. We got all kinds of AKs. And I remember taking inventory of the situation and looking at my little Jindis, you know, that's Iraqi, like the younger guys in my platoon and my squad that I was in charge of. And I could see them sitting on the couch, drunk, committing suicide because these kills would be in the gray. Like we knew they blew us up, but there was no active threat. And if we put them on their knees and executed them in that moment, I just could see that it would change realities, and I would have been the one who gave that command. And so, like, to be completely honest with you, Ed, everything in me wanted to do it. And the beast in me was like, dude, I'll do it, and I'll go have a sandwich, bro. Like, I was literally like, I'll be fine. Like, I'll take a few ears and, like, make a necklace. And, like, there's a book called The Wisdom of Psychopaths you should read at some point. It's a great book for anybody who has a different relationship with their emotions. And that's kind of how I've always been. But, like, I was like, I'll be fine. But then I looked at my squad, and then I kind of took inventory with my guiding light. And I was kind of like, I can see the implications of this. Yeah. And it is in the gray. Yeah. And so it was hard, but I was just like,
it dropped it.
We'll just detain these guys.
You dropped it.
And I let it go. And I think I'm freer today because I did.
Do you
now?
Do you think about, like, legit, do you think about that
aspect? Heck yeah, man. You know, like, you know, you detain these guys. We pay them and release them on the streets within, like, 72 hours. You see the guys that you detain with, like, the marker Sharpie still on their head from when you arrested them. And and we knew that, and they get a bottle of water and, like, $250, like, a couple thousand dinar back in the day. And I just remember just being like, man, like, but I have to make the decision everything in me wanted to just be like, cool, we'll send a message. And, you know, we sent messages, but it was at more appropriate times, you know, like dudes try to roll on us. We ended up strapping them to the front of Humvees and driving through the city with their remains at times. But this just didn't quite feel like one of those times. And I think that call to let those guys just get detained that day, I think it stopped my guys from having to fight a greater war later.
So you go from sorrow for not doing enough with the opportunity.
Yeah.
To having the devil there ready to sign over something.
Yeah.
To not signing.
Uh-huh.
That's a lot to happen in a day.
In moments, right? And then, you know, into continuing to clear, into being like, hey, you guys got to get us out of here. Like, my boys need to be assessed. Like, we need medical.
So, 2 questions. Because that seems like a mystical experience.
It changed my life. I call it my Phoenix moment. I think about it almost every day.
2 questions about it, though. What did it take from you? Because all of these moments take something from us. That's initiations of the highest degree in any culture. Usually have sacrifice to them.
Yeah,
take something from you.
Yeah.
Could be death or a simulation of a death, which you talking about a shamanic experience. You basically went to the underworld.
Yeah.
You know? What did it take from you? Like these, like, I don't know. For me, I remember the first time I had a horrific head injury after some shit that I went through myself.
Yeah.
It took from me the ability to sleep the whole night through.
Wow.
And a few other things. What did it take from you?
Man, I think honestly, it took like an innocence from me. Like it took the reality that like so many people live, and you know there's the verse in Ecclesiastes where Solomon, one of the wisest men in the world, says, "With much wisdom comes much sorrow." And I don't know if I have much wisdom, but I feel the weight of reality every day, and I know how thin the veil is. And I live in a hyper awareness of like, yo, bro, everything's cool right now. You get a freaking car accident and die today. Like, you know what I mean? Like at that monster of chaos is right underneath the surface. And so, since that moment, like I've always, you know, it also brought me closer into like almost like a Bushido type mentality where like the moment I am in is like the only life I know I have, and I have to go like I promised. I got to go ham, you know.
That was your deal.
Yeah, that was my deal. And
what did it give you? Because usually these experiences take something, a big thing.
Yeah.
You know, innocence, this carefree. You're there.
Yeah.
You're trying to figure it out. You could have done a shit ton of stuff, but you're just going through it now. You're oh shit. There's a responsibility to this.
Yeah.
What did it give you?
You know, it gave me, I want to say, like, a new way of life, man. You know, like, since that moment, like, life just wasn't the same. Like, I'm, like, not going to be just, you know what? It gave me the weight of purpose, you know? And, like, it's a beautiful thing that I believe can keep you alive and insulate you from shooting yourself in the face after you come back to such a plastic reality, after living such a vibrant reality with misery and all these vibrant emotions that is war, you know, like it's so like vibrant and intoxicating almost.
Purpose.
And then purpose, dude, and now I feel the weight of that every single day.
Yeah.
You know, but that's also like the most beautiful and honoring thing because like all this can mean something. Like all this can serve. Like and that to me is the highest honor. You know, it's like I want to become more powerful. I want to become more financially potent. Why? Because the level of service. I can't let the grace that's been given to me be in vain. And that's a double-edged sword. That grace, for me, that's like what drives me. And so I went hard for Uncle Sam. Now I wake up at 4 a.m., I go to bed at 11, and I'm at war still.
A lot of people talk about Jesus, but not many people want to be a gangster like he was.
Right. Straight up, dude.
And
straight up.
You forgave in a day that I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't have forgiven.
Yeah. Yeah, bro. When I looked into the eyes of my boys who were like bleeding, like, but like this anger came over me. Like I remember being like, I should smoke these dudes. Like, look at my boy right now. Like he's crying. He's freaking. he's bleeding, and like you guys did it, and you're smiling at me because you think that I won't do it. Like my darkness could easily envelop you.
Yeah.
You know,
you were you just went through a point where sorrow was there.
Yeah.
So it's like it makes sense. It makes sense, and also it definitely changes. Like definitely change you.
100%, man. Like it was that moment changed my entire life, and I promise never to forget it. You know, some people let these things, and they like try to turn away from them. And Robert Greene wrote that book, The 50th Law, and I love it. You know, with 50 Cent actually, but he talks about an old school hustler who says, I think his name was Truth or something, and he says like, reality is my drug. The more I have of it, the higher I get, you know, and the more of it you have, the more you can bend reality. Like a lot of this life is about becoming an alchemist. Like you're like the God, you're the Lord, the owner of your life, right? So then, you know, I look at that and I never let myself, I have 11 hours of tattoo on my back all about it. For that reason that it's like I call it my Phoenix moment. I died and was reborn differently after that.
Going through therapy myself, and kind of like reliving some of these things. I think a big part of why people don't heal or don't learn to live with some of these things is because they don't want to go back and make sense of it.
This is huge.
The making sense of something. Realistically, our lives are just random shit. You know,
Right.
When we remember our lives, we don't remember the time we were watching X-Files on TV and the Snickers that melted in your lap because you fell asleep. You don't remember all that random shit.
40-some
It's just noise.
trillion bits of reality
It's
every
just
second.
noise.
Yeah.
But every now and then, throughout that whole experience, you'll find this line that you had, I had, where things align for us. Reality bends. Probability goes out the window, and everything you imagine to be true is a lie.
Yeah, well, especially in this reality. And the other thing too, like on what you're saying, man, like we're meaning machines. And I believe the quality of what we're able to execute is directly in alignment with the quality of the meanings we can freaking manufacture. Like I can decide this means something that can drive me to strength, and that is perceptual empowerment. That's the alchemy I believe in life. You know, being able to extract an empowering meaning, and then that will cause you to act that way. And so, you know, when I look at my life and when I talk with vets and when I talk with my homies, like we got to go meet up again because another one of our guys tapped out, committed suicide like last month. Like one of my workout buddies, you know. It all has to do with this meaning that we extract. And when you said people are afraid to go back there, I'm saying, bro, you have to go back there and stare at it.
Yeah.
And then you have to take your ownership and you create a freaking meaning.
Sense.
Get power from that monster.
Most of the pain attached to the past for people is related to how senseless something was.
Yeah.
And I mean, the power of narrative, the power of taking control over your narrative and going back and actually making sense of it. Yeah. To some people, that idea explosion that you went through would be the beginning of their end.
Yeah, yeah.
And for you, it's a phoenix.
100%.
And you decided that.
Yeah.
You decided that.
Like God gave me an experience that would give me the ability to be more aware and become stronger. I look at it as an honor, as a gift. You know, but I look at everything. I try to, and this isn't an easy thing we're talking about. I try to look at everything as a gift. Yeah, you know,
it's like at moments like that for people. Like I always like equating them to shamanic experiences.
Oh yeah.
So the shaman, and I think in a lot of ways when we become teachers and instructors and we find ourselves in this weird place where people ask us for our opinion about shit.
Yeah. And you're like, I'm just me, dude. Like, I'm just going to give you the best. Like, I'm doing the best I can. That's what I'm doing, yeah.
The shaman is somebody that dies and goes to the underworld. The death could be symbolic or real. A lot of shamanic experiences in the past were done through poison. And, you know, they would have poisonous shit in them that would go to a level or a point.
Yeah.
They'll go to the underworld, they'll learn that language of the underworld, and they'll come back with a lesson. And that's a shaman.
Yeah.
You know? The shaman is the one that comes back and has something to say about that experience.
Wow.
And what is something we usually equate with a shaman? They're crazy, you know, lunacy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're mad. they are alone.
Yeah.
It's a big aspect of shamanism, the solitude of it. And
that's awesome, man. I'm loving this.
I bring it up because we're about to kind of like go into this this afterlife aspect of it that comes after war.
Yeah.
Right. You stay on after this experience. What leads you to your final deployment out there? Like what happens to make you say, you know what, this is it?
In terms of going on my next deployment, well, so that took place during my last deployment. First deployment, I got, I caught some IEDs as well. And then after that, actually, I got hit enough that deployment that they flew me out and wouldn't let me do my last mission and flew me back to Al-Assad. That broke my heart,
Being realistic, we don't know what happens inside of somebody like that.
Yeah.
So you could be bleeding internally from somewhere.
Bro,
Your brain could be...
Like, I could just collapse. To this day, I know guys that all of a sudden just collapse.
I mean, the pressure of this goes through your body.
Yeah. And it's honestly, it's a very... Like, if I think about it, I can almost feel like maybe I can remember the pressure, but I always wonder, like, what that really does to, like, your subconscious that, like, is recording all this. Like, being in those blasts, like, like the one I was staring at and then, boom, just got wrecked. Like I just think about the effect that must have on the memory that drives who you are as a person that you can't see, It's very interesting.
So you were taken out of it.
Yeah.
You were taken out of it.
Yeah, man. So, I was taken out of it.
It wasn't your choice.
No. I mean, by my second deployment, I was kind of ready, though. It was a lot like that movie Hurt Locker, where, like, at the end, like, he's just, like, ready to go. But then I get rocked by a whole bunch of, like, family things that happen before I get to actually the battlefield. Because it's like, oh, yeah, you're like, you're ready. And then, Murphy's just like, boom. And you're like,
Yeah. You're pulled out.
Yeah.
You're somewhere in a hospital trying to figure shit out, relaxing. Is your...
And I rate a Purple Heart, but they lost my paperwork. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Cool.
Semper Fi, guys. Anyways.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
You're out. What's going through your mind? For me, that's a lot of effort. That's a life.
That's a whole life.
That's a life to get to that fight.
Yeah.
And you just got done two rounds, and one of those fucking rounds with Mike Tyson, basically this IED.
Yeah. I got rocked, put in my place.
And now you're out.
Yeah.
What are you thinking about? Like, what's that? What are you?
So for me, man, like it's interesting, man. It goes back to, like, my father, my heavenly father, because 6 months out from getting out of the Marine Corps, I'm like starting to freak out. Like, I'm like, yo, what am I gonna do though? Like, like all I can do is hold the gun, kind of like I'm an infantry dude. I chose this path, like blood in, blood. Like you're holding the gun, bro. That's what you do for a living. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm like applying to law enforcement. I'm like, applying to go back overseas.
Are you seeing other people like you in the job market coming out of that?
They're all doing the same thing. Like, we're all trying to get on to agencies and law enforcement and
security,
PMCs, contracting, mercenaries. Like,
this is the gold rush of that.
Yeah,
moment.
Mm-hmm. And this is big.
And a lot of it is basically go back to Iraq.
Go back to Iraq. But you're getting paid now, baby. You're getting paid to fight now, bro. I remember coming back from these deployments. I made like 6 G's my first deployment. I made 14 G's my second deployment. You know what I'm saying? I thought I was balling when I hit that 14 G's. I went to war for $14,000. Yeah,
holy shit.
Couldn't even, bro. Like, blown up multiple times.
It's like a 2008 Mazda Miata or something like that. I don't know. I have no idea.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't even with that, bro. So, you almost couldn't get me off the couch. Anyway, so Now I'm sitting here and I'm like, dude, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? I got my girl at the time. I'm like, I gotta be a man. I gotta be able to provide. Like, I'm Byron Rodgers. Like, come on, man. Like, what's the deal? So one day I'm praying because I'm scared. Like, you pray when you're scared.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are, bro. Yeah, at some point you're like, yo, if you're up there, bro. So
somebody.
So I'm like, Father, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And then he comes back to me and he's like, go bounce at this bar, Hennessy's Tavern in Dana Point. And you're gonna become a bodyguard. You're gonna travel the world.
Was that what it said?
That was the El Voiso, bro. That was the voice, baby. And literally, it was very specific. It was information from outside of me. You know, I had another experience in Iraq where that voice came back as well. Yeah. This was like the third extremely sharp time in my life where I was like, oh, I know what to do. I just got the download. I haven't gotten this forever. It's been like years. So I walk into the living room. My girl's sitting on the couch, and I'm like, yo, babe, I know what to do. I'm all like giddy, and she's like, what? And I'm like, I'm going to go bounce at Hennessy's Tavern. I'm going to become a bodyguard. I'm going to travel the world. And she's like,
bullshit, you are.
Literally,
dude,
bro.
I had a moment like that in my life. But So she's like, this one.
Yeah, exactly. And now I'm like starting to feel kind of stupid, but I'm like, no, I know what I was told. So then, I know I'm talking about like flag football being drafted in the NFL. But I said something to her, it was kind of cool when I think back at it, that I was able, just as a man, to be able to hold my ground. I was just like, no. I was like, I know what I heard. I was like, this voice has saved my life before, too many times since I was 5. I was like, all I ask is that when it happens, the way I said it's happened is that you believe.
Yeah.
Like you believe. Like, because she was a new Christian, but also just like, I'm not crazy.
It's not faith, it's fate.
Yeah.
Which is
honestly, man,
way more powerful.
And when you hear people say, I didn't choose the game chose me, like that's like literally what happened.
So you say, this is going to be my afterlife.
Yeah.
She meets you with resistance, probably.
Absolutely. She was like, because you know what that means for her. I mean, like, I'm a big bouncer.
What about the rest of the parts of your life, your friends? Like, hey, this is going to be my project.
Yeah.
I'm going to work in security.
Yep.
And I'm going to travel the fucking world doing this.
The level of certainty that I had instantaneously hearing that voice again in my life was just like, it's a fact. Yeah. And like, I stepped right into it, went up to Hennessy's, got the job. My boys were kind of like, yeah, okay, Byron. And I'm like, yeah, bro, that's exactly what's going to happen. And then sure enough, dude, and then also I've been so used to being the only or the other in so many environments growing up that I just didn't even notice people like not believing. You know what I mean? Like I'm just like, guys, do my own thing. Cool. Have a nice life. I'll do me. So I'm like doing my thing.
Yeah. So people, when you have like I had a moment like that.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do this, and people are like, yeah, okay, good luck with that.
Yeah, sure, bro.
But it's again, solitude of it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Again, the shaman is alone in the fucking woods,
dude, 100%,
right? The shaman is alone in the fucking woods. Shaman says, hey, I can speak to lightning. Everybody's good for you.
Yeah, until you need someone who can speak to lightning, then the shaman's the guy.
So you start this process of learning. And when I say learning, I mean, this is you were out running and gunning. Yeah. This is a different, security is a different
whole
world.
Different animal.
Like,
and there was a death actually involved in that. That's interesting that you bring that up. Once I finally got on and I realized like I'm never going to be like what I was. This is very nerf. Like this is very not combat related. No. I'm the help, dude. Yeah. And like there was a death associated with that. It was very interesting. The cognitive dissonance associated with that realization.
For people that haven't figured or haven't gone through that experience, like I was operational for several years. And then something happened, and a way for them to cool me off was that they sent me to work for a governor as the head of security.
Yeah.
And that's a job where you're paid for shit not to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Like the mission literally goes, like you're going this way, and then it's like,
and I just came from like Lisa Ola's like, hey, dude, we need to make shit happen. Yeah, go do shit. Yeah. And now you're like, hey, nothing needs to happen.
Like we want boring days every day.
We don't even want you to see you sometimes. If
Yeah.
if you can hide somehow.
Yeah. Exactly. Literally though, that's the conversation.
So you have to shift this dimensional shift of now not going after, not chasing danger, not being the danger.
Right.
You are.
Well, it's literally like you have to be able to be the danger for that 1 in a billion chance.
Encapsulated danger.
Yeah, encapsulated danger. And then the rest of the time, you are just like, you're like everything else, your social dynamics, your soft skills, your concierge, your service with a smile.
Problem solving.
Yeah, and inside, the beast that was just running free in the desert is like clawing at the walls, you know? So, well, and then not to miss out, like, so then, I go bounce at Hennessy's Tavern in Dana Point, bro. 3 months go by. Dude looks at me. He says, hey, have him do it. I'm like, what's up? He's like, come over here. He's like, you getting out of the Marine Corps? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you got combat experience? I'm like, yes, sir. He's like, go get these 2 permits. Give me a call back in 2 weeks. I'll show you how to make a lot more money doing what you're doing. And I'm just like, yes, sir. So I go back.
Opportunity.
Yeah. Just as I was promised, right? And boom, I blink. I'm doing my first job interview in Beverly Hills on Rodeo Drive. Can't get into the jewelry store for the interview because you can't even get in unless you're somebody and like they know you. Unless you're on that level. I'm in the back of this, first client's Bentley. Like I'm 21 years old. They ain't really got like, but I'm like 21-year-old man. Like I just came back from doing things at most of these, you know what I mean? So my client's looking in my eyes and he's like, all right, cool. You can ride with us. Dude, I didn't choose the game. The game chose me. We hit 60-some countries that first year, traveled more than the president of the United States Secret Service. I lived like that for 7 years. Yeah. Just eat, sleep, breathe. Grew up in dog years in the game.
While you were going through this process of traveling and basically building this afterlife for yourself, because that's what you're doing.
Which is another crazy life, like the amount of access you have when you're with these people, the things you see, dying another death to religion. Yeah, because now I'm still in the mecca of the business of religion.
You start learning this field of security, international security. Yeah, meeting people with completely different life experiences than you, that are in their own field, some sort of importance as far as who they are, and you have to keep these people from dying. Yeah, basically. 100%. That's your reality. Your job.
And that's the ultimate, keep these people from dying. Yeah. But then the way you survive in the game is keep them safe, happy, and productive. Yeah.
and their image safe.
Yeah, and their image safe as well. And if they want, a certain type of cashew nut from Jaffa in Israel at 2 a.m., you're going to go get it.
Yeah. If the Pomeranian gets sick somewhere in Kabul, you need to know exactly what veterinary service.
Yeah, you better plan for this contingency, right?
And these are the things we're celebrating now for, which is it's a weird shift.
Yes.
So you start doing this profession, 7 years traveling around. While you're traveling around and doing this job, which a lot of people look at it. They see the planes, they see the travel, they see, and they don't
Diamond Hotel,
and they don't see the 2-hour sleep, the fucking jet lag, the peeing in a bottle in a car because there's no porta potties there.
Gatorade bottles only.
Gatorade wide mouth bottles.
Yeah.
They don't see the having to hold your shit somewhere. Yeah. They don't see somebody spitting in your face and you have to put your ego and put in your wallet. You don't see any of that aspect of it. While you're going through this process of basically, did you go to a school of bodyguarding? Did you go to the University of International Executive Protection? Did you go to that university?
Negative, my man. I'm figuring this trash out.
Did you find the dude that knew enough about this to bring the best instructors out there to kind of like, hey, this is the guy that I need to...
Yeah.
No, there's nobody there.
Yeah, there's nobody there. Eventually, like literally 7 years out after I get done with all the crazy traveling, because you couldn't do anything, you're just traveling all the time. Then I go to my first EP schools, and I go to one of the top ones, I go to local ones, And that's, you know, where a lot of my brand was born, the disparity between like the game.
What's that experience like of doing something and learning as you're doing it, and then all of a sudden going to a formalized school of it, specifically this executive protection field, which is...
It was, you know, to be completely honest, man, it was like, so I went through boot camp, I got to the fleet, and the guys in the fleet were like, forget everything you learned in boot camp. Like that training day, like the reason I named my school, the first level of it, training day, because it's like, this is your training day, Officer Hoyt, like you're about to learn the real way we do things. It was because I went to those schools and there was such a huge disparity between like the way we out in the field, the way we use the duct tape and we make things work. And, you know, 6 4-man formations, boxes,
Wedge,
diamonds, all this. And I'm like, bruh, one guy, homie. One guy. 2 if you're lucky. If they got a budget, Playboy, figure it out. What are the real cheat codes, right? And so I feel like I was around a bunch of college kids. And don't get me wrong, like I did my college, I got my master's, but like I'm always looking at myself as like a grunt. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a C student that hires A and B students, right? Like I'm that guy, you know? So I was like sitting there in this classroom with these guys, and I was just like, bro, it's not gonna happen like this ever. like I'm almost a decade in this. Like you'll never be like this is just like it's textbook. It's clean. It briefs well. It sounds cool.
Yeah.
I was like, but the real game ain't. When you get on a detail with me and it's just me and you, I'm gonna be like, all right, dude, check it out.
Yeah.
You want to go to jail? You want to go home? Let me quarterback this. I'm like, this is how we're running it, you know. So that's what really, you know.
Did you start basically taking your own notes and kind of figuring things out as far as this is what I wish was out there?
Yeah, and that's what spawned, you know, my podcast and spawned everything was me being like, nah, man, like these guys, and much respect to everything everyone's done before.
Yeah.
Much respect to the major schools, and much respect to all those guys. I respect them and I honor them, but like with these kind of more clean, government-centric or corporate-centric backgrounds, I just approach the game from a different place, you know? And my background was seeing how horrible things can get in a split second. May never happen, but if it happens, like, how are we really gonna really protect this guy? Like the whole mental gymnastics around like, oh, well, that'll never happen. Dude, I just don't like live in your zip code. like I just can't with you. Like maybe for you, I don't have a crystal ball though, and I've seen chaos happen. And then I you know, I was taught how to do executive protection by the industry at an extremely ridiculous pace. And that's where my knowledge base is, the street, you know, 60 some countries a year relatively for 7 years straight, you know, and how to do it from like, you know, grass, like just in the field. And so, yeah, man, there's a huge disparity there. And I navigated it by myself like I did when I was a kid. I grew up, I couldn't relate or talk to her because she was hyper spiritual. Dad was at work. So I had to teach myself a lot. And honestly, you know, me and my Heavenly Father was just like, hey, I don't know how to do this. I'm scared. I need food. And I had to like raise myself. And so in the EP industry, I almost kind of had to raise myself too. And then I finally was like, you know, I think I'm going to do something with this knowledge that I've acquired and honestly try to escape the game.
Boom. I'm going to steal that.
Now you see where it comes from, bro. Boom. That's where it came from, man.
That's where that catchphrase comes from. Mm-hmm. It makes sense. And also, it makes me kind of emotional now that I hear it, you know? Because there's a lot behind that boom now.
So much.
It's a lot.
You know.
Executive protection.
Sir.
This is something that now for people that might be listening to this or people that have seen our interactions in this crazy-ass community, you find your afterlife in this field.
Yeah.
Traveling around the world, figuring out the safety of people who can't figure it out for themselves.
God bless them.
Learning, learning like an idiot.
Yeah.
You know, the fool's journey is what I like to call it.
Yeah.
You gain the experience first, and then you somehow find your way to formalized training.
Yeah.
Which is how some of the best teachers I've ever had in my life learn.
Right.
You know, they do it first. Oh, that sucked. Let me see if I can get better at this by formalizing some sort of training.
Yeah.
You go through the process of learning through experience, traveling around, doing all these things, and then you go to a few executive protection schools.
I did get lucky. There were certain aspects of that where they were like a mentor for a short period of time.
Yeah.
You know, like
mentorship is so important.
It's-
Like, you now that you mention it, and I think a very big part of what's wrong with this industry is lack of recognition.
yeah, yeah.
Who were those mentors for you that you encountered? You say momentary mentors, like people that you find on the
For
road.
seasons of development, right? And being able to submit to that and like clear your ego. You know, I remember one of them, Theo Valeriz, man. When I first got to this detail, his name was Theo. Now, you know, Luke Agajanian, you'll see him in my content. He's around, right? Like he's the guy who pulled me from the bar and put me in the game, you know, and taught me competitive shooting and all these other things, right? But like, you know, like Theo one time, he's like, hey, man. He's like, hey, B. He's like, I know you've been to war and all this stuff. He's like, but being here will test your faith in God. And I was like, what, bro? Like, I just died and came back. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Nothing's going to test my faith. But then I'm around these Christians, and it was the most trying time of my entire life to continue believing. But like a lot of them, some of them taught me how to survive around a client who, this was one of the most difficult clients, if not the most difficult client in the state of California. My first few months there, I saw like 30, 40 agents come through. Dudes bigger than me, stronger than me, Navy SEALs, Special Forces, Secret Service. They were looking for another guy to roll with me and live with the client because I got 23 days off my first year. And they were like half days. They were like at 1 o'clock, he'd be like, you don't need to come in today. You know, and you're like, thank you so much, sir. I get the evening, babe. But like you were a Marine, so it was like a sweatshop. So you're like life is great, you know, like no one's trying to kill me. I get to take showers and eat and stuff. You know, so I had these mentors that came in, like, you know, Theo and Kevin and these guys, when I first got there, taught me how to survive this client, how to be sensitive enough with another human to understand how to be and where to be. And then, you know, I had like Luke and JJ, they helped me understand the tactics of how to really run a detail at like a State Department level. You know, like all the advanced work and, you know, where to put the guys and how to create your movement plan and all that stuff and do your risk assessments and actually be legit, like not just a buff black guy walking around with a client, you know, even though I might look like that, you know. And then after that, man, they all got wrecked. Like it was like a war zone. After that, a lot of them just either went on to bigger and better things or ended up, the detail started downsizing and like it was carnage. We started on a 13-man detail. We ended just me and one other dude, one of my best friends, Caleb Shirk, and we're just sitting there like, dude, I guess we were the Jundies. We were the new boots, and now like I guess it's us, bro. 7 cities, 11 days. Let's make it freaking happen. Like, and so we learned, I mean, at a hyper pace. One op, the client, you might have 24 hours in a country before the client comes to set everything up. The next op, you might have 3 hours. Like, hey, bro, we're coming right behind you. Go straight to hit the airport. Go straight to the venue, set it up. Go straight to the hotel, set it up. I am on your heels, you know, and you're just working, and your guys coming in behind you, and you know, and then you get them in pocket at the end of the night. And you're like, oh. You know, like we shouldn't be the only two doing this, but we are because that's the game, you know. And without mentorship, you have to learn so many hard lessons by yourself. You can die tired in that like life doesn't care. Like lions don't hug gazelles to death. The wisdom of this amazing thing and place that we're in there's a side to it where if you are not able to be productive or progressive, you will die. You're never still. And so I always, you know, I always would seek out someone who knows, and I would always like get underneath them and learn and honor them. There's so much honor that should be paid to those people that have gone before you, you know. And I would honor them, and I would absorb what's useful, disregard what's useless, and add what is essentially my own, because they also can fall victim to fighting past wars, as you know. And so that was the student's journey. And then now I blink and I got like 400 students that I'm mentoring.
Where's that transfer happen? Like you're this guy, you're doing this afterlife of a job, you're running around, you're struggling with this new concept, and then
also I'm having my PTSD time for the first like couple of years while doing this.
What does that look like?
Yeah. So for me, PTSD was addicted to that dopamine we were talking about earlier. So
where were you chasing it?
I was chasing it the second I get off work.
Where?
Like at the club, I was just doing drugs, party drugs, man. Like I was dude, I was dropping like 10 pills of Molly a night.
Was your drug use about escape?
I wanted more richness from reality. Like, so coming.
It wasn't good enough.
It wasn't good enough.
You weren't satisfied with where you were.
Yeah, it was. And it was such a weird position because it's like, dude, you're in 7 Diamond hotels, you're in palaces, you're in private jets every single week, and like you should be happy, dude. Yeah, and then I was like, this is just like it's so nerf, bro. No, it like it's so nerf. Like and so I wanted more, and so when I would do these drugs, I would be like, and I was highly functional.
Do you think there's an aspect of the fact that these drugs were unknowns also? Like there's a risk aspect to taking like recreational drug use like that. Yeah. There's a risk aspect
there's a risk, especially nowadays.
And also the people around you are probably a risk as well if you're doing that shit.
Well, so, there's that excitement that comes from like, hey, we're kind of back on the razor's edge. Like, I went hard tonight, but then reality is so much more vibrant again, while you're in that and you're feeling so many things. And so for me, it was like...
It's funny how basically a hyper reality is your escape.
Yeah.
Which is wild to think about.
That's the truth. And the real reality, like the mundane, like, oh my gosh, I spilled my coffee. Like that's a problem. You know what I mean? Like that for me was just horrible. That was hell, like listening to the problems that most of the civilians would have around.
Did alcohol ever factor in there, just the drug?
Alcohol, I drank a lot, but like I wasn't a good enough drug for me. It was too much of a downer. Like I could drink and I'd black out and stuff, but like for me, I wanted the dopamine, baby. I wanted to be up and I wanted to feel like I could fly. And that's what I did, man, because then I felt more.
You mentioned that you spent a lot of time painting your body related to that PTSD aspect of it while you were probably going through this process of reinventing yourself, which is what we're talking about right now, I think. This reinvention. Why that much pain for a memory that changed you?
The tattoos?
Yeah.
That tattoo.
Again, is it dopamine as well? Is it that as well? Are you chasing that with it?
I've always had a really interesting relationship with pain and fear. I feel like they're the best teachers. I feel like pain is like literally, it's like the philosopher's stone to like more to growth, to evolution. Like I'll go to the gym and we are chasing pain now. And out of that pain will come, like out of that chaos of that pain will come a death and higher order. I'm going here to sacrifice this version of Byron so I can unlock a stronger version.
That's usually what keeps most of the general population from changing because they don't want to destroy themselves that way.
Exactly. And I want that destruction. Like I want to get choked out on the mat. Like I want to find my breaking point. And like my brand's never been about perfection. So like I'll show when I'm at a shooting competition and I'm not doing good and I'm like the humanity of it,
You're going through this, still processing this PTSD aspect of who you are. You're going through this reinvention. Mm-hmm. Where does the idea come? This nation that you want to build, which is legit a nation that you build. Where does this nation building aspect come from? Like, because I see a lot of solitude in your process.
100%.
And when I felt alone, I remember reading this Timothy Leary quote about finding the others, like you're not like the rest,
Right.
This whole aspect of Fight Club, the disenfranchised, the people that don't have purpose,
right,
and purpose, and how some people are always complaining about their freedoms, but they're not talking about the responsibilities. Mm. Where does this nation building aspect of finding other people and also becoming what was missing for you, I guess, in a lot of ways, which is...
That's awesome.
Where's that? When did that happen?
Well, real quick, something really important about the last thing you asked me, which was, the marking of my body.
Yeah.
That experience.
The pain and marking of your mind.
These experiences imprinted on me and my soul, these experiences imprinted on me, and I believe my tattoos are like manifestations of the scars and values of my soul. Like when I get done with that tattoo and I look at it and I'm like, this has always been here.
Yeah.
There's something so powerful to that. So that's what that was. It was like that Phoenix moment imprinted on me, and I need a monument. Like I need to now manifest that in an even real way. And I look at my tattoos, like I'm pretty blasted on my upper body. I'm gonna do my lower body now next. And I gain power when I see these images.
Yeah.
I had to cover one up recently because I erected the wrong image, which is an interesting thing.
Yeah.
But it was still part of me. It's very interesting how it worked out. Kind of perfect.
Yeah, body art and stuff like tattoos. Like I have a few. I have a problem with being strapped down or held down in a chair because I went through some shit in my life. I allowed somebody to put a tattoo on me, my first one, and that took everything.
Wow.
A number, a 2-number sequence on my finger.
Yeah.
Right there. And that took everything.
Wow.
To just, and the person there with me didn't realize, I think, the power of that I'm allowing myself to basically be put through that.
Yeah.
For me, I think the ink is a reminder of something.
Oh, yeah.
For me, it's a number. An age. An age that I didn't think I was going to see. And they represent a few things. But...
and the pain, I think the pain, like, it's like what you pay to bear the image. It almost like unifies you with the concept that you're manifesting. Like the price, it's part of the whole ceremony almost.
I had my first tattoo was done with a needle and ink in a hotel room.
Yeah, man, prison style, bro.
Yeah. For me, it was there's a lot of pain attached to some of the experiences that I went through that I feel were senseless. So senseless pain has always been like a big issue for me.
It's hard to wrap your mind around.
So if
was it cathartic for you then to feel that physical manifestation of that pain associated with that? Or was it the opposite?
It was it's like walking through a wall, and it just disappears behind you.
Awesome.
It felt like something I couldn't go through. Like going to the dentist and being fucking put in a chair. Tattoo. Things where I have to be held down or restrained. I mean, doing classes like the ones I do every
I was about to say, man, this is your world, bro.
My therapist freaks out with the fact that I'm basically kind of opening up shit over and over again. But that's a sacrifice, though.
Yeah.
We talk about the pain that you put yourself through to kind of basically manifest these images on your body that have your history.
Yeah. And that ceremony of sitting there for 8 hours, 10 hours.
That's Jesus in the desert.
Yeah, 100%. And I do a lot of that, man. I do a lot of fasting. I do a lot of things that impact my physiology to help, honestly, get me to another level psychologically and emotionally and spiritually as well.
So you have your you have your shamanic death.
Death is a superpower. I love it, man.
You have your war paint.
Yeah.
You have your war paint now. You come back, and you start setting up this nation aspect. Now, where does that come from?
Man, it's very, very, very interesting. So I look at the world, and my buddies are committing suicide now. We're back, and we're scattered. Like, to me, it felt like we were ambushed and we're scattered, and now everyone's...
That's a beautiful way of putting it. That's how you feel like when you come out of that. You're scattered.
Yeah, man.
Everybody that was with you, everything that mattered, the millions of dollars worth of equipment, everything is
support,
do or die, life or death. You'll kill for somebody, literally, and they'll kill for you, literally.
Yeah.
And all that shit is gone.
You're Ronin, basically, dude. Like, to use a slightly weaponized term, but like you're like, where's my family? Where's my purpose? And like, you feel like when you lose a guy, it feels like you lose a body part. Like now you feel like you've been chopped in a million
It's an
pieces and thrown
amputation.
everywhere. Yeah.
It's an amputation.
And then you're hearing about like your dudes like troops in contact. Like you're almost hearing it over the radio. Like, yo, such and such just committed suicide and like such and we're losing dudes. So for me, that was huge. That's when I got into psychology and went through Tony Robbins Institute and started getting my master's degree. That's when I wrote my book, Finding Meaning After the Military, about the gear that I was using to get myself to the other side of the transition effectively. And then, so it was kind of like we all went this way.
Yeah.
And then I, started to create these brands and like the executive protection lifestyle. And then I started to be kind of like, there's a war going on.
Yeah.
My guys are dying. There are other good people being impacted by the darkness in the world, that are being victimized by the darkness of the world. But what's the number one real asset? Like, what's heaven and hell fighting over? What is the government trying to impact, and what are they monetizing? Like, what's the real asset? It's not the money. It's people. It's people and relationships and manpower. And I was like, if I can create a tribe of like-minded people, and I can empower them with the skills to protect and provide and all these different things, then regardless of background, regardless of military, law enforcement, regardless of any, single mom, 100-pound single mom hits me up like, what do I do? We were followed while we were in the store yesterday, and I didn't know what to do. Like, if I can empower her with the skills to be able to protect herself, and move in a way that makes her not a target next time, and know what to do if someone does target her, it's less physical than people think, then I can be the father of a nation of people that I'm part of, that I'm one of.
That's a giant thing to envision, though.
Yeah.
Where does that size come from? Though? Like, did you think about that size when you were basically manifesting this?
So struggle credentials, right? So David and Goliath, David, gets told he's going to be the king. He's got to go back out to the field and tend sheep. And he's out there tending sheep, you know what I'm saying? Then a lion shows up. He kills a lion, Then a bear shows up. He kills a bear. And then he's taking cheese to his brothers this one time. And then all of a sudden there's a giant out there that's like, and he's like, this is my moment. And so what I learned as I went through my life, and being guided by my Heavenly Father, like, hey, start this podcast. Well, in that world, in my industry, that's death. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't talk about what we do, bro.
You don't disclose.
Yeah. You don't. Attention to yourself.
Any sort of attention to any sort of lesson that you want to. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Any sort of
Standing
individual sticking out.
Yep.
Talking about how the game is, how things might work.
Tall poppy syndrome, bro. Yeah, you're blacklisted, right? 100%.
I don't want that fucking celebrity dude fucking behind. I don't working on my detail. Fuck
yeah,
I don't want this guy.
Yeah, and then all the others in the pond that are like, well, we're specialer than him. This is a little black guy. It looks like
specialer than him. We know more. We've been more in this industry. Why is everybody putting attention to this dude?
Yeah, we're the stakeholders of cool kidness here. And so
a lot of gatekeeping.
A lot of gatekeeping
is what you encountered while you're going through this process.
100%. And demonization and attacks and character assassination.
This expectation, I think, that is out there. You are trying to create something,
Yeah.
And a big part I see in what you're trying to create, a big part of what you made already, is of bringing other people that know things that you don't know.
The whole thing's
that's
about
that's kind of at the core of everything is the humility of like, you know what? I don't know shit. That's why I have all these people with me.
Get them, right?
But
together.
But you have to be a super ninja too.
Yeah, I mean they have to agree to come
apparently.
hang with you.
I understand that aspect of it. I personally don't. I don't understand. I don't buy into it that way. You come up with this podcast, which is where our first interactions actually happened.
Yeah. And this is embryonic stages of me just having the balls. Back on your other question, is having the balls to the struggle credentials. Like, okay, Father, like I feel like I'm supposed to do this.
Syndrome.
Like I'm gonna do this.
Did you have imposter syndrome basically at the start of it, or did you like? I'm not good enough. I'm not. I haven't protected a president.
Well, that's
or I don't know.
Kind of
a little bit of that.
But that's the thing, though. Like, I was somewhat inoculated to that because I approached it like a boy.
Yeah.
So I approached it as, I'm not the coolest dude. Dude, we're going to have a podcast. We're going to learn from all the coolest dudes. I'm going to create a platform that's going to crystallize and canonize people in the game that are doing amazing. It's not even about me. There's like maybe 9 episodes where I just am like, hey guys, I'm going to talk to you in five seasons, you know?
Yeah.
So the whole thing was about everyone else.
Yeah.
And the Protector Nation in so many ways is about everyone else. And so I have never been like, I'm the man. And so I didn't really have to contend with that too much because I approached it from let's learn together.
Let's learn together. Curiosity, like check this out.
I
have my experience, and I can ask maybe some right questions.
Good questions, yeah. I'm a student of the game.
So you start this series of conversation with different people. Who's your first podcast guest?
Wow. I mean, dude, like I can remember. I mean, the first episode was me setting the stage.
Yeah.
Was me being like, hey, I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna come out. I'm gonna do this.
You're gonna be yourself.
I'm gonna be me, and here's what we're doing. Like, we're gonna learn together. We're gonna interview some of the best in the industry that'll talk about it. We're gonna get better together because what you said earlier, I was running around the game like, hey, how do I do this? How do I do that? And everyone was like too cool for school, wouldn't tell me. Then you find the guys that take it so seriously that you're like, dude, we're not in the CIA. I've done things. Yeah. This is not those things. Let's just compare notes, you know? And they're like, nah, bro. And I'm like, okay, cool, dude. You know, so I started to be like, there's no reason. This industry can get better if we can share and we can connect and we can just we can get better together. And I got so much violent opposition to that. It was weird.
I remember witnessing some of that aspect, some of those attacks on you.
Yeah.
And I hate drama. You know this about me. I fucking hate drama.
I don't do it.
And I was included in some of that at certain times, like way back when we first started interacting. My whole aspect of this was like, this dude is creating a place for us to be seen and heard.
Right.
Why are you pissed off?
Right? Like
I'm not
enjoy it. Like,
I'm not fucking doing this. Like
right.
the aspect that this podcasting, I don't know anything about microphones or recording, and I didn't learn any of this shit because I have one of my best friends, Abby. He knows this shit.
Yeah.
You know, so like, hey, help
do
me
what
out.
you do and I do what I do.
Abby, ayúdame. Is basically I just fucking grabbed his leg. Abby, ándale. Cabrón. Pues está bien. That's how I did it.
Yes.
But you're literally creating a platform and a place for people like myself.
Right.
And mind you, when we first did our initial podcast thing,
which was season 1, by the way. Like this is way back.
I don't think I was even on Rogan yet. I don't remember.
Oh no.
This is before all that.
This is before all that.
And you were in my mind like this guy's giving me a chance.
Yeah.
That's how I viewed it myself.
No.
You know. And then then you would see the negativity around it, and it's like, oh, these fuckers.
Well, and the other thing too on that is, like, I just came back from like war, you know. So like, I looked out in the landscape at everyone, and I was like, who else is real, you know? And I'm thumbing through the social media, and then I see your content. I'm like, that is real. Like I can that's not just cool, you know, Instagram like stuff. You know, this is real. And so I was like, dude, I want to ride with this guy. You know, like he touches that dark place that a lot of this Nerf stuff that's out there doesn't.
I remember having this conversation with you about like the first time we talked.
Yeah.
Basically, kind of talking about some of the processes that brought us to that moment. You know, like your military experience, my experience here in the city that we're currently recording at. It's pretty wild to think about.
Right.
And I thought it was a great conversation. It was cool. And I was grateful for the opportunity. I remember recording it in a car.
Yeah, bro. We were so guerrilla warfare. Dude. Like, it was so small unit tactics back then.
But it was cool. Like, I heard back from a bunch of people. Like, legit people that had beautiful questions.
Yeah.
My whole style has always been about me being an individual that has an experience space to share. I don't teach a system.
You're right.
I'm not part of a program that I'm going to put people through.
Right.
Like, hey, I'm your Uncle Ed, Theo Ed.
Yeah.
Come over a weekend. I'll show you some shit.
Things. Yeah. I love it.
And every now and then I get asked to sign things.
Right.
Which is a weird thing for me to kind of be asked, but every now and then. And I'll usually sign my name and this phrase, "Don't be me."
That's awesome.
That's specifically what I write down. And I think anybody out there that's kind of like an instructor aspect of it will usually at the base level want to spare the stupidity and the painful stupidity from people, students, basically.
Yeah.
So don't be me.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
I remember having that conversation with you. A lot of the stuff that came from it, from people reaching out to this whole group of people that are the audience that you shared with me that are all of a sudden now looking through my things. And I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah. And that's what it was about, sharing too. That's what's so powerful. Yeah. I've always been trying to give.
Yeah. And I'm like witnessing you kind of basically this is Instagram when it was spicy still.
Yeah, man. That's back the glory days. The algorithm was generous.
Generous algorithm.
You drop something hot, like all your followers would see your content. And I remember when they changed that, I was like, dude, only like 10% of my people even saw my thing. Yeah. I was like, the world just, what's going to happen, you know?
Murderous stuff being posted. It's like, it's fine. Dude getting exploded, it's fine.
Yeah, nothing flagged at all.
Flagged. Yeah. And all of a sudden, we start getting just hammered.
Yeah.
You're like, dude, did your shit get taken out? Yes, I just shared your... the censorship. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. On my end, I started feeling really nervous.
Yeah,
about how things were going as far as the amount of investment that I had in my social media and the fact that legit I was transferring from being active to not being active. And this is everything.
Yeah.
So I start seeing this aspect of it. And I'm doing training at a small scale, you know, trying to figure things out on that end. And I don't see you're doing, I didn't see that you were doing training, but all of a sudden I see that you are. But I'm like, this motherfucker is going big or going broke, I guess.
True story, dog.
Legit.
A little bit of both, but at times,
legit,
man. But
legit. When I saw the scope of what you were fucking trying to do, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna maybe figure out a training site where I can do 2 classes a year. That was my thing. Like somewhere, like I'll figure out a few places like that, different parts of the country.
Yeah.
And you were like, no.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make the Super Bowl of training.
Yo, hey, that's.
And I'm like, wait, what?
Are you coming with me?
Yeah. And like
that's cool.
A lot of people don't give you credit for this, and I'm all about recognition. I remember you inviting me to that first one, like the first one I participated.
Yeah, which was the first one, dude. You were my guy. I was like, we're doing this, bro.
And I remember your enthusiasm about it, which I wish I shared because I was like, this motherfucker is going big.
It's so crazy to hear about this from another perspective.
No, it's like. You have to think about this, Byron. I was like growing, but like I remember, I don't know if I had already been on Rogan once or twice.
At our first podcast? No.
After that, but you invited me to this event.
Yeah.
And I think I had already been on. I don't know. I was going through some growth.
Yeah.
In that, and also people need to realize it's just me. It's just me.
Yeah.
I just got done not only with my former job. I was learning to be an American, so I was on my first year of figuring that out. I just been on a giant podcast a couple of times, and also my wife left me.
Death.
And I remember all of this. All of this was going on in my life.
Yeah.
As I was doing the math as far as, well, I'm going to
navigating that.
And maybe do more classes here, and maybe figuring that out. And all the while, I'm dead inside.
Yeah.
In a big way. And you call me.
Yo, bro.
Yo, bro, with all the fucking enthusiasm talking about this insane thing.
Never before done idea,
done idea. And I'm like, I have to, in my mind, I'm dead inside.
Yeah.
Listening to you. And I'm like, I don't know, this guy's, fuck, well, maybe. I don't know. And I said, you know what? Fuck it. We'll do it live.
Yeah, you did.
We'll do it live. Because I didn't know.
Yeah,
I've never been invited to anything of that nature, multiple instructors. I didn't know it was even possible to put that many people on a stage and different, like, who is this for? This has never been done before. Marketed to who?
Wow.
Like, I was like, what the fuck is this guy about?
Yeah.
I remember getting dressed in a hotel somewhere.
Yeah.
And just hurrying over because I'm sorry, Byron. I'm always late.
I know, bro.
Dude.
I know. Yo, has anyone seen Ed yet? Yo, has anyone seen this?
Byron, I legit apologize for that. It's not on purpose. I don't think I'm big shit.
Yeah. I was like, he must be already ready because I'm going to have to call him up.
I have severe ADHD and like a
awesome.
shit ton of brain trauma. So I'm sorry about all that shit. Like I'm time blind. It's legit. Sometimes I forget.
Yeah.
Like the last time I went to there was Arizona. Dude,
yeah.
I took a shower. And then just
dude, you were like behind, like everyone's like getting it. I'm like, he'll be here. And then you're like landed. You're like, hey, like we had to do something and get
shower. Fucking, like, I took my clothes in my shower so I could wash them in there and fucking dry them out. You presented this project. It was insane to my mind. And I got there, and when I got there, I saw this crowd of people,
dude.
But like. A lot of people were there.
Bro, yeah, it was like 250 people. I couldn't believe it, bro. I was also, reality was warping for me because I was like, yeah. Because I told you, like wisdom of psychopaths, like, and the fact that I have my Heavenly Father who kind of gives me this, like, you're going to do this. This is what's going to happen. Like, you're going to get drafted from flag football into the NFL. I'm like, yeah, we're going to do it. And then I'm crazy enough to do it, right? so then I'm like, yeah, we're going to do this. And then all of a sudden, like, people start buying tickets. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah,
like, it's gonna work. But I've always planned on
people are interested.
Yeah, like this is actually gonna like be a thing. Like, and I don't know how to do an event. I have no freaking idea. Like, what was I like? And then it's almost like you start in a fight and you're like, what was I thinking? Or you get on a roller coaster and it starts going click, 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 and you're like, whose idea was this? And then it's like, well, we better freaking make it happen. Yeah. And then the right people start showing up. Like an event planner just comes out of it. Do you have an event planner? I'm like, no. And then she's like, you need an event plan. I'm like, really?
The hidden hands start coming out.
Yeah.
Hidden hands start coming out and just setting things in motion.
And so when I saw that crowd, I was also experiencing a feeling of like this dream and concept just got birthed into reality.
Yeah.
And it's actually real. And I was like, it's a feeling that's otherworldly because you're just like, oh my gosh, we just manifested this.
The people there, different type of people.
Yeah.
Like I've been to some law enforcement events, and but it's completely
the vibe,
different.
Man, the culture,
completely different. This is not a tactical conference.
Right.
This is not SHOT Show.
Yeah, absolutely not.
This is people showing up with intention and purpose, and it's like weird things.
And being people, like family, kind of almost, man.
I remember showing up like an idiot late, like always. I'm sorry again. I apologize for that.
It's all good.
But seeing the other instructors there, and like having a moment where like,
am I good? Like, am I good enough?
Like, I'm not fucking good enough to be here.
Even for me, bro. I started the whole thing in order to train with half of them.
You were talking to Pannone, I think.
Yeah.
He was backstage. And he was talking about some wild shit.
Yeah.
You know? Because
he's from there.
He's from there.
Like something, you know.
And I was like, wow. But Joseph, all these guys that have wildly different life experiences, but also a lesson, something to show, something to talk about, something to share.
Right.
And then the surreal moment of being on stage with all of them and you at the end.
Just and the crowd that's so appreciative of everyone's contribution. Like
I don't think, I mean, nobody's ever done anything like that, and I mean, and I go around the block in the training community. You know, like 100%. Most people think like an instructor. Like I'm in a different state every fucking weekend.
Like,
I live this fucking life.
And I've never. It's a lifestyle, right?
And I've never seen anybody put together an event like that.
Wow. Thank you.
You know, Abby, our producer and our magician here.
Yeah, the guy running the Matrix.
Gave me one of the best pieces of advice when I started this. He said, let's try and get this 50% of what we would want it to be. So if we can get it to 50% of what we would want it to be, this is a good place to start.
Yeah.
Right? And that kind of like, well, because I wanted to have 100% done. Right?
That's very smart, actually.
It worked. Yeah. My first podcast guest was a dude that we were both trying to kill each other. You know?
Wow, really?
Conejo.
Yeah.
A rapper, amazing dude.
Yeah.
Kids were playing outside by the end, so it was
That's
fine.
That's beautiful.
That was my start. In this weird thing that I don't think this is going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, we're here, and let's see where we go with it, right?
Yeah, man.
But you have that amazing project, this Protector Symposium aspect of this project that you've been working on, this Protector Nation.
Yes.
Like, who is it for? Who's it geared towards? Like, who is this? Like, is this for? Because I know, because I've been to them, and I know who shows up.
Right.
But who is this geared towards? Like, who would you invite to this place? Like, what is it for?
Yeah, and this is a really good question because I've been the executive protection guy. You know, like everyone's like, oh, bodyguard, executive protection stuff. But the reality is, as an EP agent, as an executive protection guy, I'm a civilian protecting civilians.
Yeah.
And so, but I do it professionally, and I do it internationally, and I do it in higher risk situations. And my goal, like my purpose in life is I'm a protector that wants to multiply protectors in the world. Protectors are the white blood cells in the body of humanity. I don't think there's any reason there should be a body count in the double digits because one guy pulled a gun. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We need more white blood cells. And so this training, everything that I'm doing, like I asked God when I was young, like, how can I be a warrior for good? And it's like, as a warrior, you can only do one thing. But as like, if you can turn that ethos into something, a protector ethos, if you can affect culture, and you can create a tribe of people who they understand how to recognize, how to do risk assessments, how to move, how to think, how to assess, read body language. You can create a safer world.
That's not for me. That's for cops. That's for the military. I shouldn't.
Right.
Can I go?
Yes.
Can I learn from Yusuf to identify terrorist threats?
Absolutely.
Can I go learn shooting somebody in the face with Craig Douglas in a weird field somewhere?
Exactly.
But that's for the cops only, right?
No, it's for everyone. My biggest compliment at these symposiums is I'll get a 110-pound single mom that'll walk up after training with all the instructors that we bring in for all the backgrounds and all the dudes and everyone there, and she's like almost in tears, like, you changed my life.
Yeah.
Like
this access that you give people.
Exactly. Like, I'll be able to go through the world with my child more intelligently and more safe and feel safer and be safer. And then I'll have a dude who'll walk up to me who can't tell me his background, but is also from some weird place that we probably would relate with.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yo, bro, this was solid. This was good, man. I learned stuff. And so that's the whole game. And that's also why I do Friday is all soft skills. Soft skills don't sell tickets, but it's literally like 90% of what actually keeps you safe.
Yeah, I mean, software is
superior in so many ways. Yeah. Hardware, you need it. You better have it if you need it. You know, when you need a parachute, you better have a parachute. But if you can do the safe pattern of life stuff, if you can recognize the threat, if you can keep yourself out of those environments, if you can understand how to move and be before and during, you can avoid a lot of that. And so I always have a Friday. We go to the auditorium. We listen to the ology. We listen to all of the software associated with every single one of the instructors. And then, yes, we go Saturday, Sunday, and we go and we learn the hard skills associated with the disciplines. But this event is for, and this is so difficult for marketing. Like, my marketing guys hate it. You know, they're like, we're going to law enforcement, we're going after military, who are we going after? I'm like, anyone with the protection DNA. Yeah. And the ability
the biggest minority on the planet.
Yeah.
Who you're going after.
It's a huge minority, but I believe protection is it's something you need. It
awakens in people. People 100%. Have it.
Yeah.
When I say it's the biggest minority on the planet, I mean somebody showing up to a class where it's about them protecting others and taking that responsibility for themselves.
Taking that responsibility.
Dude, I'm going to a class about making more responsibilities for myself.
Yeah.
Who's going to go to that?
Yeah, who's going to that, right? But through either trauma, and then there's those people that are like working at Starbucks right now that are like, they never let their little sister or anyone around them get bullied. And now they're in a world where they're like, how do I stop that from happening? That bank teller that would stand up if something happens. And so now, you know, the whole entire game is mobilizing those people, like from every walk of life, being like, hey, you know what, like, I need food, water, shelter, but I also need to know how to protect my stuff. Yeah. Otherwise, it belongs to somebody else. Yeah. I'm just a warm holster for that cool gun I bought yesterday.
Security is one of the most underviewed aspects in survivability.
Yeah.
I've been through a few survival classes and conventions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I remember spending a few hours making a shank at a survival convention thing, and they were like, well, I hope you can catch fish with it. No. All I have to do is use it on you and take yours. Mm-hmm. And that mindset aspect of it, they were like freaked out with it, like, holy shit. But I'm not, because I'm a good human being.
Right.
But I can.
Right. And for the guy who's been trying to watch me fishing and wants to take my fish, I'm a little safer now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's the reality of life. And that's what we're leaning into, man. Like, I feel like people just some people are afraid to look at it, but through trauma and through experience, or through just it's in them and they don't know how to express it.
Yeah.
That's who we're assembling.
People show up to try and prove themselves. Some people show up with past trauma, and they're basically trying to build a time machine in training to go back and
have that cathartic
fix it.
And we saw that happen.
Yeah. People sometimes also, there's ego there, so they want to see if, whatever. Mm. People show up for different reasons. I think the main one I've seen, specifically on your end, as far as the type of people you guys are gathering there, people that are looking for more responsibilities for themselves because they probably have never been given responsibility before.
Yeah. Or they lost faith in those who are supposed to be bearing there, or they realized, the reality of the situation is, law enforcement, they enforce laws. They don't secure you.
Yeah.
The only person who's ever been charged with securing you is actually you.
Yeah. What type of instructors come to these? Like, how do you go about the process of selecting these people that you then basically assemble and build an experience around?
Yeah, man.
How do you go about that process?
So, for generally, I'm looking at like what are the most, like for the first one with Yusuf, it's like, what's like one of the most important protection skills you could need that like people don't talk about, but like this is it, is situational awareness and behavioral profiling. I walk into a room, little women clutch their purses, and people get a little uncomfortable because I'm usually a bigger, stronger human with like markings that are warrior-esque, right? Like I get it. No victim card. Like I totally dig it. Now I'm going to disarm them by smiling. But what if those same people, and then I open car doors and help that little old lady put her bag in the, overhead compartment. But like your ability to assess actual risk, an actual dangerous person, like what are those nervous behaviors that say, I'm about to rob you? Like, what do I understand about proxemics, and what do I understand about the angles of the eyes, the predatory looks, and how do I understand the baseline in my environment of social behavior, and who's the anomaly that's going to probably rob me? Like, so that's why I brought him, and so I started building out kind of a library of these different skills that really they need, and then I'd add like, someone who's doing something that's spicy, so that they're like, I'm going to learn some spicy stuff. Now for this one, right now there's just these black swan events where we're in this like this like apocalyptic kind of feeling time. Right?
This is the going zeitgeist of like how people are right now.
Yeah.
In Mad Max.
Yeah.
Mad Max happened in the 80s. We're beyond that.
Yeah,
right now.
it's very Book of Revelation-y, you know? So this time I looked at the apocalypse, like what skills might you need? Like learning how to bug out and bug in, like surviving, like survival skills. And so we have an instructor, an elite instructor who's willing to do that, you know, like actually risk assessments. Like, do you have an EMP, an emergency management plan for your life, for your home? Can you assess risk in your pattern of life? And looking at where we have a guy coming in that's going to teach a very simple hand-to-hand tactic. Like, this is how you can control a human, and this is how you can, because so many people avoid that discipline. Like, they just don't want to get physical. Like, but like, there's things you can do.
And for people that kind of like don't realize how this works, I mean, these are all entries.
Yeah.
These classes, these experiences are all entryways. The rabbit holes.
Oh yeah.
You'll go to one of your classes and
you're getting exposed.
Spend time trying to drive like a maniac and use your car as a weapon.
Yeah.
And then you'll get tossed to somebody who's going to tell you that the people that are most aware in an environment are probably the ones that want to fuck you over, or the ones that are trying to keep others from fucking you over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's such a
mind job. Yeah.
All the information dump that happens. I mean, I remember Arizona, which is the last one I did with you.
Yeah.
Everybody, all of your instructors got there, and of course I was fucking late or something to the party.
Yeah. For real.
So Byron is basically issuing like, Instructor Zero, you get this field with the cars and. You snake eater over there. You go over there to the CQE house, and Edward, you get the church, I guess. Mm-hmm. So I got a church, which is funny. It's a funny thing to get. It's perfect. I get this church. It's like probably nobody wanted it because it's really hot. But I have
of course the AC breaks like when the sun comes out.
But I had a friend of mine, Jer, who turned that fucker off. We both of us fixed that thing. I remember wearing a sweater in the middle of.
It got cold in there. It was the only place actually that was cold after a while.
Yeah, it's like I was like, why is all these people that like complaining about the heat? I remember that first night, everybody like see some dudes were all red from fighting for their lives, you know.
Well, we had my man Raul. Yeah. Man, his stage was murdery. Man.
Yeah, Raul is all about the murder.
Really, you're gonna fight today, right?
And then you had other people who were beating themselves over the head with mistakes made during a CQB exercise.
Yeah. Right.
I could have done this. Like basically breaking their heads with geometry.
Right.
And then you had Instructor Zero over there talking about
vehicles
and where to put their rounds, and people are like, we're having dinner, like I'm trying to chill the fuck out.
And then you hear the cars crashing while the guys are getting in car fights on the track in the middle of the day.
And but the after actions, basically people talking about their experiences during the day, and you're like, and I had this moment. I told some of the people that were in this table with me, do you realize how surreal and almost impossible the scenario we're in is right now? We have people from all over the world, instructors with different passports, with skill sets that came from different ass conflicts.
Yeah.
And all of us are here shitting and bullshitting with each other and talking and sharing experiences. And I just learned how to
Jimmy rig a seatbelt into he was showing us.
He showed me how to Jimmy rig a seatbelt to drive the car for you if you have to in a way. Yeah, it showed me some things with gun grips. Then I was learning from your guy that was doing CQB.
Kawa.
Yeah, Kawa. He was like, I was seeing him move, and I was like, holy shit, this guy knows the sweet sciences.
Right.
And the surrealness of the aspect of having all these people there that
Yeah.
know all these things.
Yeah.
And we were just hanging out in this fucking airplane graveyard in the middle of everything. Fucking, this is,
so good.
is this fucking Con Air?
Actually happening? Yeah.
This is fucking Con Air. We're in Con Air right now.
Well,
this
and
is
the
amazing.
quality, bro, of the synergy, like the conversation. Like I just was sitting there, like listening to you guys, and it's like imagine like Buffalo Bill, a samurai, an Indian warrior, a shaman. Like there's all these like warriors from these different places, and they're all just sitting at a table being like, yeah, man. And at night being like, yeah, man, I use my sword when I do it like this. It's like, yeah, bro, I shoot like this. And you're just like, and I'm like, I just wanted to train with these guys. This is amazing.
This is, well, I mean, it's basically all of this is basically one big attempt for you to basically build your own fucking
my own little training experience.
look at this.
Dude, it's so good. I'm a student of the game,
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It's not easy though.
Oh my gosh.
And as somebody that witnessed 2 of these,
Yeah.
and dude, I do my class, I chill
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
this is not my boat.
Yeah, it's not your war.
It's
man.
not my boat, and I see you as the captain, and every now and then I go and poke you
Yeah,
just to make
yeah.
you laugh, and but I see the stress.
Yeah, I'm like,
This is not an easy thing.
No.
This is not an easy thing. There's a lot of pressure, a lot of work, a lot of moving parts.
and you never know if it's gonna work. So
Yeah.
every single time, it takes balls. It takes you're staring out into nothing, and you're gonna try to manifest something, and you don't know if the world will react to you the way it has in the past. If you use old tactics, it's like war to me.
Yeah.
Use old tactics, they won't work.
You have to,
so
you have to do risky things.
Yeah.
sometimes. Or like people like, dude, are you sure you want to?
Right?
And then
you
you're
have
like,
to,
yeah.
and then you have to, it's like getting the date is like refueling in midair. Like you're talking to these guys, their calendars are exploding, your calendar is exploding, and you're like, we can come together on this 3 days, I think,
It's refueling in the air with a fucking squid.
Yeah, literally, bro. With like, and then we get 6, 7 of you guys and us, and we're there, and it's just like, oh my gosh. But at the end, dude, when that sun's setting on that last day, and it's like, I'm looking out, especially for one of the other. It was like Fight Club, bro.
Yeah.
Like everyone's all like banged up.
Everybody's dirty. Everybody's
man.
red eyes,
It rained on
sunburned.
us. Yeah, well, yeah, that one was sunburned. The Florida one, it dumped rain, and they're just sitting there. Tony Seminot came out and just basically brought a bunch of instructors that were murdery and like, are you hurt or are you injured? I'm hurt. Good, get back in there. like it just was like, but everyone's so alive. Like that moment when I'm standing up there and I'm looking at everyone, and they're like a family, and they're like, we came together, we trained together, we sweat together.
This is something that used to happen in tribes.
Yeah.
This is something that the hunting party,
Yeah.
the the war band,
Yeah.
the casting off somebody into the wilderness and having those fuckers come back with the
Just invigorated.
Yeah,
Man. But
and a few
having
scalps.
died a death and coming back to life.
yeah. You can go to war, or there's wars out there, but there's also wars inside.
100%.
And a lot of people go to war with themselves when it comes to some of your training events.
Yeah. Yeah.
Convincing somebody to get back up.
Yeah.
Taking a knee and convincing somebody that they're just pretty big and scary.
Yeah.
And you might not want to fuck up in front of all these people.
Right.
But you can die 1,000 times here.
Yeah. But that's what I want them to know. We're here to be professional students. This is the dojo. This is where we submit to instruction, and this is where we want to fail. And then when they realize, I think there was something that was so empowering is when they realized they're in such a safe environment to be students. Yeah. And there was no ego. Like there was no instructor that was like the guy that was like, we have been blessed to have such a good group of genuine humans that want to make other humans better.
I always tell people I don't know shit.
Yeah.
Every time I see somebody that knows shit, I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like I get impressed,
Yeah. And the amount of times you guys come up to me and you're like, dude, I just want to go to the other dude's class and like see what he's saying.
I want to go see that shit. Right. I had a few moments there. There was a snake outside of the church that I had to dispatch. The class was over. It was nighttime, cleaning up. Mm-hmm. I cut the head of this fucking snake that didn't want to use its rattle out there, And I had the privilege of having a few Green Berets tell me how to cook it.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
And I shared some of the ways I used to cook it. So,
Yeah.
So I'm in this surreal moment sharing rattlesnake cooking tips with a bunch of Green Berets. You know,
right.
You were there in the shower hall, maybe a little bit horrified that there was a snake out there, but you were fine.
Yeah. I was like,
what the fuck
Ed's
is
got
this
it.
thing?
I'm like, Ed's got it. All right, we're cool.
There was a moment outside of the plane at the end of this event. All the instructors are behind us.
Yeah, we're walking.
Yeah. We have a moment where the sky is purple and then it turns into just black.
Yeah.
And you're there, and all the vehicle headlights are your stage lights.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, fucking Byron's gonna close it off here, I guess, in the middle of this fucking weird ass field with this plane behind him.
Bombed out plane, man.
I felt pretty proud of you in that moment.
Thank you.
Specifically because before anything, you went around and mentioned every single buddy there behind.
Yeah.
Before you even started on your own thing. It's a lot of work, you know. It's a lot of risk.
That's a lot of risk.
It's a lot of people that might hate on you don't see all those aspects. I see it.
Yeah, man.
Where are you going with it? Like, where does this project go now?
Oh, man. It's all about tribe, man. It's all about, like, us. You know, there's so much that's so divisive. And I think security and being able to protect those who you love is one thing that's so unifying. And it's just a universal need, whether you realize it or not. And those of us who are waking up to that, I'm leveraging that as a unifying principle. It's like, I don't care what color oriented, whatever your thing is, like, we need to be safe. And like, there's other out there that like doesn't want us to be together and like doesn't want us to be safe. And so the Protector Symposium is really kind of the catalyst for the Protector Nation, and how we're bringing everyone together is we've created a social media platform that drives that because one of the biggest tragedies was like people would come to this event, they would train together, they'd sweat together, be like, I love this guy. Like, you're meeting so many different people and protectors from everywhere.
Weirdos like you.
Yeah,
there's no other
like,
place in the world where do I meet more people that are into this weird shit?
Yeah,
well, there.
like, and now I got to go back to be alone, you know, with all the people that are like, you don't need all your stuff, and like, nothing's gonna happen. Like, you're like, anyways. So now there's a place for us to stay connected, for us to network. And then I'm going to continue, you know, because so much of what we do is a conversation. You know, we're going to be rolling out like the Civilian Protector Project, which is going to be all the digital stuff, like an ongoing Protector Symposium online.
Wow.
And so you can stay part of the community with like live Zoom meetings where like you can actually ask me or you questions, or whoever's hosting the meetings that week or that month, you know, and you can go through a curriculum of what a protector, you as an adult, should understand to live a safer pattern of life: male, female, big, small, purple, yellow, orange. And then that'll culminate into the Protector Symposium. Then we all come back together. We learn a whole bunch of new skills. Then we go back out, and we're still able to meet a few times a month over Zoom, learning these new skills, and just niching it up. And that'll be like the level 1. And then we'll get into level 2, and we'll teach people higher level skills. And we're going to create a culture. We're going to create a tribe of people who are like, yeah, man, I got my house set up. I got my car set up. I have the way I see the world, the way I interact with humans, the way I disarm people socially, you know, and the way I know how to react if I need to.
What's coming? What's coming as far as an event?
The event is the Protector Symposium 6.0 Apocalypse.
6.0 Apocalypse.
We're on the 6th iteration, man. Apocalypse,
this is
baby.
I remember seeing an Apocalypse. Like, what the fuck is this guy on?
Yeah, man.
Like, what's
That's
going
what I
on?
wanted.
And you're like, hey, Ed, can you participate in this? And I'm like, how?
Yeah.
How am I going to participate in this? And it's like, well, as far as making a city come to a standstill and figuring out how to disrupt an urban environment and take control over it.
Yeah.
I think you might have some experience with that.
Something from
and
the
I was like, I do, Byron. I do actually have a lot of that.
Yes.
And we're actually in the city right now where I learned all of these things.
Wow.
In the city of Tijuana.
Right.
Where we not only took control over it, like we would stop it. We would figure out ways of closing certain things down. We would restrict access to certain things or put eyes on certain things that people wanted to get that might be used against us. We figured out how to weaponize public works.
Right.
How to go to Home Depot or a hardware store and turn it into a guerrilla armory.
Right.
All these lessons kind of learned from experience.
Yes.
And never in my wildest dreams would I think somebody was giving me a platform to kind of share some of this stuff.
Oh man, it's so beautiful.
It's a beautiful thing.
Oh, thank you.
Who else is on that ticket?
Yeah, man, it's a good card. So we've got Clint Emerson, 100 Deadly Skills, right?
Former team guy.
Yep.
Wrote 100 Deadly Skills, also CIA contractor. 100 Deadly Skills, basically a manual on a bunch of tradecraft stuff. How to make body armor.
Right.
What to carry in a foreign country. This type of skill set.
All that type of stuff, man. And that's what I love about it. It's relevant, and it gives you a lot of. It's like when you say like, just because you're not allowed to be armed doesn't mean that you shouldn't be, or like you can't be.
Yeah, not allowed to and not able to. Completely different things.
Exactly.
Who else?
We've got John Burke. So he's one of the first, if not like the first or second Gracie black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's rewriting the hand-to-hand curriculum for a number of different agencies, law enforcement organizations all over the U.S. And so he's got a simple system. Because obviously I can't make you a ninja in a weekend, but
he's somebody that probably mastered the art of preparing people in a short amount of time.
Exactly, man, in a very short amount of time. So he's gonna get these skills to folks in a short amount of time, but to help them understand how to deal with a hand-to-hand encounter.
Entry also.
Yeah.
If people don't have a clue, that's what they'll find out.
That's where they'll. Yeah, exactly. So that's gonna be the hand-to-hand component, and then we have we got to bring back Craig Douglas, man. We bring him back to South Narc. I'm
convinced that Craig Douglas should be Wolverine in a movie. I'll figure out how to make that happen. He looks like Wolverine, doesn't he?
But
he just eats the hair though. But like, look at him.
Yes,
built.
And he's such a gentleman. Like the way he moves, the way he talks. Like I sit there and study him when he speaks. His oratory is his instructor style is. Oh, it's polished.
He's been at it for longer than most. Like I remember seeing stuff of him early 2000s.
Yeah.
Way back when his face was blurred out. Remember that?
Man.
Yeah, great dude. Like legit one of the original people that with a phone call convinced me that I could possibly be an instructor.
Right.
Great guy.
And he has that like that older man wisdom too. When you talk with him, like he'll change your whole perspective. Like because he has more perspective. You know what I mean? Like
he's been through some shit.
Right. Yeah. And so he's gonna be teaching one man CQB. Like what's relevant. Like, are you gonna be LARPing? When it happens. Like, are you gonna be with your boys and your long guns and No, you're not, dude. You're gonna, if you're lucky, you're gonna be rolling with a pistol because you're a CQB dude. Yeah. And can you deal with a building intelligently? Yeah. And so he's digging into one man clearing, and then we have you. So we have Craig Douglas, we have John Burke, we have that's who I missed. We have Clint Emerson, and then we're teaching another skill that I think is one of the most important skills, driving, which is top 5 causes of death in America. We're going to be teaching a full protective driving course to anyone who wants to learn how to car fight. Like, you're going to get vehicle dynamics. You're going to learn how to get roughly 80% of the potential out of a vehicle. A lot of people don't. They think they're going to tip over when they make a turn. So, like, guys like us that have pushed vehicles, we know, dude, we're ripping through there. But if you haven't, you don't know what you can do without wrecking the vehicle. And then we're going to put you in a rolled vehicle. And we're going to roll you over. You're going to survive a roll. You're going to learn how to
that's something only available to law enforcement in the military.
Yeah, not anymore. Welcome to the Protector Nation. And then we're going to teach you how to defend yourself in the vehicle. And I'm going to hit you and try to run you off the road. And then you're going to try to pit me and run me off the road. And then when you're out here in the streets, if it gets weird and you're in your vehicle, you'll be able to get you and your family home almost no matter what.
Awesome. I'll close my eyes and I'll be there. Probably.
Yeah, that's how fast reality
That's
moves.
Fast
now.
reality moves.
Yeah,
Knowing you has been amazing, and witnessing you has been truly inspirational.
That's the world, man.
You have no idea how many people are out there watching you, witnessing you, and also that you've helped out by giving platforms to,
Wow.
by giving audiences to, because realistically, you have an audience, and you're very generous with it.
Thank you.
You might not see that, you might not figure that out for yourself, but I'm here to tell you that you are, right now, currently, probably one of the most generous and influential guys in the industry, kind of setting things up for us, because that's what you're doing. So thank you. On behalf of a lot of instructors, thank you for that opportunity that you're giving us.
Wow.
And on behalf of somebody that's also a student and that wishes, like I wish, and I tell this to people constantly, you have no idea how privileged you are to be in a room learning from all these protectors, as you call them, or from these people. I was killed for the opportunity when I was young to be able to go through these things.
Yeah.
I lose more sleep every night over the things that I could have known and the things that I could have done with that knowledge.
Wow.
And I think people should wake up to that fact.
Yeah. Before they're in the learning, the real life learning aspect of it.
Byron, this has been a pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming down, making this adventure. We're about to go into a culinary adventure in a bit,
Yes,
too.
we are. We're, real quick before you end it.
Yeah.
I forgot to say Rick Sweeney is going to be teaching the driving course.
Rick Sweeney.
Rick Sweeney, Sec 4 International, also our training director for the league. He's a brother of mine, salt of the earth. I couldn't bear the thought of having let him this wrap up, and I had to say his name. He's been an amazing human to work with.
I've seen him. He's intense.
He is intense. Was that you guys like kind of having a conversation?
Dude, I go around, I talk to people. Dude, I legit, I'm a kid.
Yeah.
In these places. I'm a kid in these places.
Too.
I'm excited to learn from people and to witness people do their things.
Yeah.
And also, I'm kind of chaotic and funny sometimes, so this
Right.
is me. Yeah, amazing that you're putting all these people together in one place, and I know that's not easy. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it, so I could.
I don't blame anyone. Don't be like me.
Don't be like you. Again, thank you on behalf of a lot of us that you might not hear this often.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That means the world, man. And then also, bro, I gotta say the same thing, dude. Like, for me, the other side of the coin was like, every time one of you guys like signs on and like it's like, yeah, dude, I'll roll with you, bro. That means everything because you're willing to commingle your brand with mine. And like, who am I? You know, like that's how I look at myself.
Yeah.
Like we're all like, we're just little kids, dude. I'm like a little Bahamian boy, like still kind of chubby little Bahamian. You're like a little Mexican dude, like sitting there, you know, like it's crazy, you know. But we're like we're over here trying to create reality. And you know, you believed in me too when I was just another dude with a podcast that hit you up and was like, yo, bro, like let's do something. I see something in you. You see something with me. And then you rolled with me since, bro. Like Protector Symposium 1. 2, you know, and now here we are again, you know.
Yeah.
We did a hard skills in between, so it's just thank you, man, and then, you know, we're gonna go do some cool hood rat stuff right now, you know. So, man, that really means a lot to me, you know, your friendship, your trust, you know. I definitely want to honor you for that because I do know that, you know, especially from where I come from, some guys you're one of the real ones, bro. You deal with all the demons and all the stuff that we all deal with. And I can see that in your eyes, and I love you for that because you're doing something good with that. You've been given the freaking responsibility to deal with that, and you're dealing with it in a good way for a lot of people.
And most of the people that I admire are people that take the pain,
Yep.
or that take the poison,
Yeah.
and turn it into a medicine.
Yeah.
And that's
the alchemy, bro.
That's the alchemy. Thank you for coming by.
Hey, such an honor, man.